So you might not know this, but I could speak Asian.
Wow.
Don't try to start from scratch.
Or what's really popular right now is what's called build to rent. All right, guys. So we are back today. Man, we got a special guest, Marlon, today. So guys, welcome back from Closings to Capital. I have a very special guest, Marlon, on the show today. He's a top performing realtor out of Claremont, Florida, who's killing it on YouTube. That's where he gets most of his lead generation. And the reason why I wanted to bring him on is because me and him actually share and collaborate on a lot of perspectives on real estate. And that's actually was my background, starting as a real estate agent. But I knew early on, getting my license in 2015, that this was a very transactional business. And I always felt like you're only as good as your next sale. So I brought Marlon on today to give me some insight in his point of view and the lens that he looks through on a daily basis to keep him and his team motivated to continue to sell real estate. So welcome, Marlon. Appreciate you coming on. Give me a little bit of background about who you are, where you've come from before you got into real estate.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for having me on. Javier is really good in terms of his knowledge and wealth of knowledge and stuff when it comes to this real estate background stuff. So to give you, I guess, some context about myself,
okay,
I was actually born and raised in Guyana, South America. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
No, yeah. I know Guyana.
Yeah, so I moved here when I was 12 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in a third world country. So moving to this country here, things were a little different.
A very small country too.
Exactly, right? So I had to learn a lot of new things, right? Even the way I talk, right? The pronunciations for a lot of words. Mm-hmm. So when I first came here, long story short, we went to New York for about 6 weeks, right?
Okay.
I went to school temporarily in New York, kind of gained, I guess, the knowledge of...
So New York was the first place you moved to from Guyana?
Yes, but remember, it's only for 6 weeks, so I don't really claim to be a New Yorker,
okay,
right? So we just kind of stayed there, kind of got our paperwork together and whatnot, so... But I did go to school there for a little bit. So I do say I have a little bit of experience in the New York school system. So I'll take that credit.
Okay.
You know? But anyways, majority of my time, we've actually moved down to Florida. And we've actually been in this Claremont area here for about 20-something years now. So now,
with your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, who did you move with?
I moved with my parents. Yeah, my parents, and I have an older sister. She's about 2 years older than me. So yeah. So as a family, we sold all our stuff over in Guyana and we moved over to...
Were you guys well off, mid-class in Guyana? Were you guys like poor? I mean, you said you owned some things, so I would assume probably.
I'll be honest, man. Growing up over there, I honestly did not understand the concept of money. I did not understand classes. I didn't understand. I thought, looking back at things, I was a spoiled brat, right? Mm-hmm. So my parents were a blessing in terms of I had everything that I needed, right? I never really cared for much, so.
Right.
Everything I needed was there. So it wasn't until we actually came to this country and then we actually had to start off from scratch. And then I actually had to see my parents go through the struggle for us to get to, the levels that we are now. So my parents didn't really have a college degree. My mom was in banking in Guyana. My dad was in management. Okay. Right? When he first came over to the country here, my mom, she managed to get a job in banking. My dad, a lot of people basically mentioned that, hey, you know what, you should probably look into real estate. Okay. Right. So that's how our family kind of went.
How old were you when you heard that?
I was probably 12, 13 at that time. Right. So
12, 13.
12, 13.
So your first introduction into real estate technically was 12, 13 years old.
Come to think of it, I guess, that is the case. Yeah. So I didn't really realize that. But 12, 13 years
old. Yeah, because
old.
people want to know, like, how do we get doing what we're doing, Yeah.
I'll be honest. I did not want to do real estate. I try to get away from this, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
But anyways, so at 12, 13, right, everyone kind of told my dad, you should look into real estate, right? So he was working part-time at Disney at the time, and he was doing like surveys, the most annoying job that you can do at Disney, right? Which is you're the guy that goes up to people like enjoying their time and try to do a survey with them, right? And it was the worst thing. And I would just hear the stories of him complaining and all that stuff. And I started to feel bad, for my parents. I'm like, man, and I just really, I'm like, dang, I don't want my parents to have to go through this. I don't want them to have to do this. So I'm like, all right, I need to figure, at a young age, I'm like, all right, we got to figure something out. So I helped my parents a lot with, I guess, figuring out the customs of America. Me and my sister, that's how I feel like we were very mature for our age at the time, because even though we were 15, 16, we understood how to get around the area. We understood the maps, right? I remember me and my sister were in the back seat, literally just looking at the maps, telling our parents, take this road. So we got to learn this area like amazing. Like I can drive around this area without a GPS.
And when you say this area, was that New York or Claremont?
Claremont.
Okay,
Claremont. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
Because when we
So
moved,
6 weeks in New York, moved from New York to Claremont.
yep, we stayed in an apartment at first, right? I was going to
School in New York.
no, now I'm in Florida here, so I'm going to school now in Florida here, right? So that we're getting.
But what
used to-
made you guys pivot to Claremont? What was the ultimate decision? Like, come on, Claremont's like so
I know.
small at
Good-
the time.
Yeah, not very good
Now
question.
it's blowing up, but
The ultimate goal since we moved from Guyana, the goal was to move to Florida. That was we have a lot of family that's in New York,
okay.
and a lot of them were basically saying that, yeah, don't stop in New York. You just go straight to Florida because we're all eventually going to move to Florida, right? So like, you might as well just kind of go to Florida.
Gotcha.
And a lot of them were saying, hey, the lifestyle for the kids and stuff in New York, they were saying, go to Florida instead. So, and also my mom absolutely cannot deal with the cold, like just can't deal with it whatsoever. So it just made sense for us.
Especially coming from Guyana.
Exactly, right? So it just made sense for us to kind of just start over in Florida. We did at the time, my mom's brother and their family, right? Where they had 2 kids as well too. They moved with us as well too. So we had, a family, community around here, right? So
Okay. So it was mainly your family influencing you guys to come down to Florida.
correct. Yep. And telling my dad you should probably get into real estate as well too, right?
But
So
it wasn't a particular part, right? In Florida, like they just said, get down to Florida.
Get down to
Okay,
Florida,
cool.
right? And then we kind of narrowed down to Orlando area, and
Got it.
obviously then we just looking around what's available in the Orlando area, and naturally we just kind of ended up at it was actually a apartment complex on the outskirts of Winter Garden before it kind of turns into Claremont. So
Okay. So you guys started renting.
yeah, we did start renting,
Okay.
and then I would say maybe a year or 2 into renting, my dad got his real estate license and he started working at Westgate.
Oh, I already know you're going with this. Okay.
So anyway, he started working at Westgate, right? And once again, I'm hearing him complaining about. He's like, yeah, "This is not for me. He doesn't like the whole concept of it. He doesn't feel like it's ethical, right?" So he just became very miserable for him. So eventually, he was like, "You know what?" And this was probably now like 23 years ago. He's like, "You know what? I'm gonna go do general real estate." And he just joined Watson Realty over here in Claremont, and he's been there for 23 years to this day.
Wow.
Yeah, he has the office space and everything, and he's the man over there. So I couldn't even convince him to leave there. Like, honestly,
Wow.
yeah. So he's got a pretty good, decent business that he's built for himself over the years. And 23 years in the business, and he just sits back and gets referrals left and right. So and it's amazing to see. And I'm like, man, I gotta go over here and struggle and try to go get leads and business and execute. And he's just sitting around, and people are just calling him. Sometimes he'll be like, I think I want to get a deal done. He'll literally just pick up his phone, call his peoples, and then he's just very good at asking, hey, who do you know that's looking to...
Right.
And I don't have that in me. I wish I did. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, a traditional real estate agent should have those type of skills.
Absolutely.
And I realized quickly when I got into the business, I'm like, I don't have none of these skills that the traditional real estate agent has.
Yeah.
So I got to figure something else out, or I'm going to be out.
Wow. So that's pretty funny. So I want to ask you a really quick question before you go on. Technically, your dad's your competitor, right?
Yes.
Have you ever lost a deal because of your dad?
Actually, yes. So it's so funny. I wouldn't say I lost the deal, but it's in the family, so I don't look at it as a loss.
No, I know, but like from a perspective of like, damn, that buyer seller went with my dad versus me.
Yeah, there was a guy actually. I went to his house yesterday to drop off some. He bought a short-term rental home, right? So he's doing Airbnb over in Davenport. So he bought a lot of stuff. He's in New York, so he had a lot of stuff shipped to our house, and I just had to drop it off for him. But he saw me from YouTube, so he saw my videos from YouTube, and he was watching my videos. But then he actually reached. Then this is why referrals are so great.
Oh my!
He was watching my videos, but in his circle of people in New York, he asked if anybody had a recommendation for a realtor, and someone recommended my dad. And when he called my dad and realized, oh, my dad and me were related, he was like, he was great. So he called me. He told me, he's like, hey, yeah, I watch your videos. I'm working with dad. My dad was like, hey, yeah, this guy watches your videos. And there's been multiple times that people have reached out to my dad and they're like, oh yeah, watch your son's videos. So he honestly, I don't look at it as like, oh, he's stealing business from me. I just look at it as, okay, the concept of what I was trying to do is working. And what that was is I'm trying to build a brand. And that's honestly, for future real estate agents, if you don't build a brand, essentially,
Yeah.
you're gonna fall off, or
Yeah.
you're gonna work for someone that has a band, or you're gonna be working for Zillow or Realtor.com or something
Yeah.
like that.
So let's rewind a little bit just before we go on to any further. Were you guys doing better in Guyana than you were here in Florida and in the States? It sounds like you guys are struggling when you guys are coming here.
Yeah, and the thing is, like I said, back in Guyana, I didn't understand, I guess, money, but in Guyana, my dad was a manager of a pretty big company, right? It's a chemical company, right? And there's a lot of agricultural stuff in Guyana. My mom was a manager of a bank, right? We had our own trucking business, a company, right? That we were doing distribution and stuff like that. My dad was the president of the Rotary Club, Barbee's Chamber of Commerce. I knew a lot of wealthy people. I met the president of Guyana. Like I'm not gonna lie, I felt like we were pretty decent in Guyana, and it wasn't until we moved over here then I realized that, okay, yeah. Even though we sold everything, we came away with whatever we had, we were still bottom class. Like we were just barely able. I remember my parents tell me the story now. They're like, yeah, when we came here, we barely maybe had like 20 grand. And they barely was able to buy a car and then basically get a rental. So the struggle.
So you guys struggled more here.
Oh yeah, we definitely, like, I've watched my parents go through it, man. Like wow. And that's why to this day it's like, all right, I want to make sure that that never happens again. Gotcha. And that never happens in the future. And it's just okay. And I think maybe that's also why it's kind of instilled in me that, like, go-getter mindset. No, don't take your foot off the gas. You never know what's gonna happen, right? So, and I think, and I look at some of my other cousins, not to knock some of my other family members that have been raised in the States, but I sometimes compare myself to them, and I'm like, man, they don't have the drive and the motivation. It's certain things that I feel like I'm so glad that I have that you can't just tell somebody to get that. Right. It's just those intangibles that you just can't, you just put into somebody. So,
so let me ask you a deep question. With the drive and motivation that you have on a daily basis, whatever that looks like to you, because that's different for every individual. One of the things that I always had trouble with, which I've shared with you a couple times outside this show, is I always say, being a real estate agent, you're only as good as your next deal. How do you go from selling 20, 30, 40 units a year, which equates to whatever, 13, 15, $20 million a year in sales, to knowing that you have to get and do that again next year and repeat the process year over year over year over year over year, and just knowing that at the end of the day, you don't have anything that's sellable being a realtor? How do you keep that spark?
So I guess the spark comes from, I love real estate, and I feel like no matter what I do, I'll always have real estate as part of my family business. And the thing is real estate has been in my family for so long as well too. Like, we have a lot of investment properties, and I just love it so much that I feel like, and I do agree, it's very hard to sell a real estate business that you've built with your face and your brand behind it, right? So I already know it's going to be tough to sell if I even want to sell this. So it's maybe something that might have to maybe pass down to my future generation, right? So my goal is to ultimately build a brand and a presence and a reputation. So whereas it can kind of run itself, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, like, Sirhan, right? Ryan Sirhan. So very similar to how he's kind of taken his brand.
He's a celebrity agent.
Exactly, right? So kind of going with that type of thing. And that's why I make a huge push when it comes down to content. And obviously it'll take years of me pushing out content over and over. It's gotten to the point now where, honestly, I'll go into some restaurants and stores and people are like, hey, I watch your YouTube videos.
I love it.
Yeah. So I went to Mount Dora and I was eating sushi with a girl, and then the manager came up to me. He's like, hey, I know you. I watch your videos. And it's just like stuff like that. It's like, okay, it's working. And the guy was telling me, he has an agent that he's buying a house with, but he watches my videos anyways because he's like, there's so much good value out of it. Right. But they have their own agents. Right. So, and honestly, I'm okay with that. I love that because I'm like, okay, you guys are finding enough value. And the main thing is, I'm looking for the folks that don't have real estate agents that are looking for help. I'm like, hey, you know what?
Yeah. See, that's the thing people don't realize. You mentioned Ryan Sirhan just a second ago. People don't realize he's not a real estate agent. He's a marketer. He's a master marketer. Correct. And now he's gotten so big to where he's not even just a master marketer. He's a business guy, and he owns SaaS, right? He owns his brokerage. He's on Netflix now. He's all over the place.
He's got his own media company basically that kind of fuels all of this.
Correct. He's got his own coaching. So he is a master marketer business guy. He's an entrepreneur, and he's done really well at what he's doing. So let's touch on one thing that I think that agents aren't utilizing enough of, which I've noticed you are really good at. And I'm actually getting right behind you in those footsteps, right? Which is YouTube. I love YouTube because it's the number 2 search engine in the world along with Google. Will that maybe change in 2025? I don't know, because there's a lot of AI technology out there and built into all this social media platforms that we're using. What would you tell an agent that is maybe just getting going? What value would you tell them, right? Like, you're obviously having agents under you working in your brokerage. What would you tell them to do to excel, go all in YouTube? How would you tell them to get started?
So first things first, if you were going to do YouTube, and I would say start with YouTube versus the other platforms. There's a big reason why, because he said it's the number 2 search engine. You get very high intent individuals, so someone searching for information, and then you delivering a video of that information. It's like ding, 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 right? So that's 100% start with YouTube. Now, in terms of what you should be doing on YouTube, first things first you should do is you should close your eyes and picture your exact client that you want to serve. Figure out who is that person. Figure out what they eat, how they sleep, what job do they have, right? So
your client avatar, correct?
Exactly, your client avatar. Like, I've actually narrowed it down to I'm looking for people in New York, New Jersey, California, Chicago, those specific markets, because I've realized they are in a pain point where they want to move to Florida. So I'm looking for those people specifically that want to move to Florida, that are looking to buy a new construction home. Like, that's very, very niche of a market.
Love it.
So in my videos, as I'm doing my home tours, I'm literally talking to them. Hey, if you're looking to move to Florida and buy a new home, my team and I, we specialize in. We would love to help you guys make the move. We'll help you narrow down your specific locations and community that you want to be part of, and we'll help you find the best home for your budget, right? So you narrow down your client and then start to figure out, okay, what questions will they have? What are they looking for? What type of homes would they want? What type of communities or events they may want to go to? And then start serving that. And also ask your audience. As you start to make content, just keep putting it out in your content. Ask them for feedback. Ask them, what do you guys want to see? The thing is, the YouTube community is so powerful. They will tell you exactly what they want to see. They'll tell you and you just keep serving that up until, I'm telling you, eventually you just got to do that consistently, and consistency is the key, right? Because I have dropped the ball on the consistency, and I've watched the numbers like just dry up. And now I'm actually right now in the process of trying to get it back.
So how many videos long are they? They're long form videos and short form on YouTube only?
For me, mostly I've been doing long form content.
Only YouTube, no other platforms?
I would say first, before you do go to the other stuff, just focus on one and just try to figure it out. But if you're going to make the long form content and you're going to post it on YouTube, I would try to get ahead of the game for some of the other platforms if you can. Facebook Watch videos is a pretty decent one for long form content, right? Also, Rumble is another good one for long form content. Rumble is like a YouTube competitor, right? Rumble is very open in terms of YouTube has gotten a lot of bad stuff in the past for, taking videos down, and you can't talk about controversial stuff. And
right. That's what Rumble, it doesn't censor anything.
Yeah. So Rumble is a very nice up and coming type of platform. You're obviously not going to see as much, traction there, but if you want to be ahead of the game.
I guess what's important, and one thing that you touched on just now, which I've developed businesses over the years, and I always tell people, one thing you need to understand, and one of the most important things you need to understand, is when you're developing any type of business in any type of industry, you need to understand who is your client avatar, and what their pain points are. That way, when you're doing content, you can speak to that.
Yes, sir.
And so that's what you have done, and that's what you have cultivated. And so when I talk to a lot of people, because people ask me a question on something, or how do I build this? And I'm like, you're not crystal clear on who your client is, and you're not crystal clear on what their pain points are. So how can you really poke on that? Right. When you're doing your content, and you have actually been very clear on that, who your clients are. So I would think on, and I'm not a social media expert, but I would think, where is your client living? Because I feel like the older folks would probably be on Facebook, right? they're probably not going to be on Instagram.
Correct.
So where is your client at? So if you're listening to this, you need to understand where is your client avatar at.
Very true.
Now, I know some social media experts might say just put your content everywhere, right? But again, that would be more of a question for somebody who's like very, niched into marketing on social media for that particular, client avatar.
I agree.
But yeah, and it's funny because you mentioned YouTube, and I've been doubling down on YouTube now, and I'm about to hit 1,000 subs, and I'm pretty happy about it. And that's in 1 year. I'm about to reach 1,000 subs, and it's funny that you mentioned earlier that saying, "Hey, I even go to restaurants and I go to this and that, and people recognize me." Well, it's funny that you say that. With the small following that I have, I've been to events across this to other states, right? And I have people come up to me at, I would say, 2,000 to 3,000 member conventions that will come up to me and say, "Hey, I've been watching your content."
See?
And it's funny because it's kind of like they know me already.
Yep.
Right. And people want to do business they know, like, and trust, but it's not even like they're coming up to me to do business. It's like, I don't know if I want to use the word fan, but it's like they've been following me, and they see that I am doing the thing, that I'm taking action in the industry that I'm in, and it creates this almost stigma of like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Right. And he's here, and it's kind of like, not like a cold approach or a conversation that's never been had. It's almost like you guys have spoken before, and they know you, they like you, they trust you. They know you're doing, so I get that all the time. And it's funny that you say that, because I've actually met with one of my fans off of YouTube that followed me and been watching my content in a certain sector of co-living that I speak about. And he sat down and he flew in from Canada. He had to come to Orlando already. And he messaged me. He DM'd me and said, "Yo, we need to meet up for lunch." Come to find out, long story short, he is the creator of Bitcoin Mexico.
Oh, wow.
I sat down and had lunch with this guy for about an hour and a half. And now we're talking about some other business ideas that he's very, very techie. And now we're talking about some other business ideas, some SaaS and stuff like that, in a certain vertical. And it's like, I got that relationship off YouTube.
That's amazing.
With the small following that I have.
And that's all you need. And if you think about this,
that's crazy.
Think about 1,000 people in a room and how crazy that is.
Yes.
Right?
I know.
Think just 100 people in a room alone is a lot, right?
Yep.
So that's why a lot of people just, don't realize the power of it.
One thing where people get hung up is it's sad, but a lot of people don't create content around their business because they think it takes a lot of time and energy. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes energy. But if you're doing the thing on a daily basis and you're just documenting and not focused so much on, I need to create, you just have a videographer just follow you around.
Correct.
And one of my hacks that I did when I first started doing social media was I went to my local colleges, right? Full Sail University, Valencia, and I joined all of them, not in person, but I joined all of them on social media. And I started making job posts for videographers. My first videographer, I paid him $12 an hour, and I said, "Hey, look, I just want you to be a fly on the wall. Just record everything I do, every conversation I have. If I'm walking into the bathroom," like I was literally like that. I was like, "I want you to record everything. I want you to document everything." And I know that might be a little excessive, but I was at a point where let's document and not create. And a lot of gurus that are in marketing and social media, they'll say, well, things need to be scripted, right? Which is true if you want to go viral. But I didn't want to have the perfect social media. I just want to take imperfect action, get a $12 an hour social media person or videographer. And it was funny. I took it a step further. I noticed a lot of young kids I was going after didn't have their own equipment. I bought all my own equipment. So I said, "Hey, I'll provide the equipment." Bro, I got a videographer following me around for $12 an hour, flying around with me across the country, documenting everything. And people want to see that stuff. And that has given me the small following that I have. And now I've taken it a step further, which is, monetizing what I'm doing now.
No, man, that's amazing. And honestly, it makes almost every single business that you're in, if you're not creating content around it, you might end up, losing out in the long run.
Yeah. So what's your goal with the content right now? Like you have a nice following on YouTube. You're primarily only focused on YouTube. Talk to the audience a little about, let's talk about the result that you're actually getting off YouTube so people understand the importance of actually listening to this podcast and saying, you know what, I'm going to stop right now what I'm doing and I'm going to take action today. Because if you don't take action today, you're never going to do it. If you say tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, that ain't going to happen. Your brain will trick you from actually taking that action. So let's talk about the result. How long have you been posting on YouTube at a high level? And what has been the results?
So I first started posting YouTube videos in January of 2019. So I remember, and the reason why I remember it was December 2018. Man, I had so much debt. I had all of these credit cards and everything. And I'm like, yo, I'm not closing any deals. I was like, I'm not getting any business. I got to figure something out. I had spent a lot of time researching YouTube and videos. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going all in for 6 months straight from January to like June. Every day, every weekend, I'm cranking out videos.
In 2018?
2019. January 2019.
Okay.
Right? Because in 2018, I was broke as crap.
Okay.
Right? And I was like, is either I got to go back to a 9-to-5 or I got to figure this out. So 2019, literally just start cranking out videos. 6 months of consistently making videos, right? Over and over and over. Every day, learning in the community, making videos, editing the videos, posting, right? It wasn't probably maybe that 6 month mark that I started to get phone calls from these videos. Phone calls from New Yorkers, from people from South Florida. And then all of a sudden, every weekend, I'm booked with showings, right? So weekends, I'm doing showings from people coming from out of state. During the weekdays, I'm negotiating deals. By the through the week, I'm like, oh, shoot, I literally just got 2-3 contracts. Oh, wow, I just got 2-3 contracts. And these are new construction homes. So now they don't close very quick, right? So I'm still not seeing any of the money, but I'm getting these deals on the contract. I'm like, dang, okay. But I'm still struggling. So to me, I'm like, I don't have the money, so I still got to hustle. So I'm still hustling, right? Trying to get deals on the contract. Fast forward, end of 2019, December, I think I made like $150K that year. And I mean, that December month, I made $75,000. I deposited in my bank account. I was like, what the hell?
All off YouTube.
All off of YouTube.
And you were doing one video a day for 6 months.
For 6 months, basically, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so if I had to guess, your call to action on your videos was what?
If you're looking to move to Florida, I would love to help you.
Gotcha.
That was it. And the thing is, my call to action, I did it 3 times in my videos.
Gotcha.
In the beginning, when I do my introduction, in the middle while I'm kind of going through the house, and at the end, right?
Gotcha. And so
asking for the sale essentially is what I
right. And at that time, were you crystal clear on your audience or no?
No, I was trying to figure it out.
Okay, you were trying to figure it out.
And I was asking them, hey, what do you guys want to see?
So for someone who's just wanting to do their YouTube channel, what do they need to do a YouTube channel?
Whatever market you're in right now, the easiest thing to do is find one of the nicest new construction model homes, right? And learn as much details as you can about that model in the community, and then present that now to things, because houses are fancy. People like fancy houses. It's what attracts them, right? So you'll get them through the door, right, by showing them a nice fancy house. And while you're showing them the house, remember, you're mostly showcasing yourself. You want them to feel like, oh yeah, this person I can relate to this person. I would love to go on a showing with them. Right. So as you're doing it, you know what I'm saying? You're showcasing your personality around the video as well too. And this is how they're going to know, like, and trust you. Right. And over time, you'll build an audience.
Which is also pretty cool, because if you think about it, when people come to you, it's a good fit for both of you guys. You ever have a client that you might get on, like, for instance, like an online lead, like Zillow, Realtor.com, or maybe Google's, like, those clients, you never know what you're going to get, right? It's the wild, wild west.
Yep.
So the people who are watching you are actually like, dude, I like his personality. I like his swag. By the way, ladies, Marlon is single.
That's right.
Anybody who's watching this, give him a call. That's the call to action on this, guys. He is single. So
not in my DMs, MJP Realtor.
There you go. There you go. You never know. And if you get a girl off this podcast, say, just give me a little moolah.
I got you, bro. I got you.
But that is the interesting thing, where people are actually coming in, and technically what you're doing is a filter in a point, if you think about it, because they're looking at your personality, your swag, they're looking at the expertise that you have, that you're displaying, and they're like, you know what, we choose him, we want to work with him, we know, like, and trust him.
Very true. And the thing is, a lot of the people that do reach out to me, they have very similar interests to me. They like cars, they like basketball, they're from the Caribbean, right, as well too, because they're like, oh yeah, this guy, he looks like he's Guyanese, he looks like he's from the Caribbean. Sometimes my accent might come out. So
Yeah.
you attract the people that want to work with you.
Right.
And every time they call, I never ever have to convince them that they should work with me.
Right.
It's they want to work with me. They're begging to work with me. I had a guy call me the other day, and when I answered the phone, he's like, "Wait a minute, this is not an automation. This is the actual Marlon." I was like, "Yeah." So he was surprised that I even picked up the phone myself. So we're about to sign a contract right now for a duplex to that guy as well too, and it's literally not even a week.
I love it. I love it. So, okay, rewind a little bit. 6 months of getting serious in 2019 to doing a video every single day, 7 days a week for 6 months in a row.
Yep.
Okay. At the end of 2019, going into 2020, you tallied up about 150 in commissions.
Yeah, about 120 or something like that. It's
all off YouTube.
All of YouTube.
No referrals, no nothing. Okay.
All of YouTube.
You're doing 3 call to actions on your YouTube channel, on your YouTube videos.
In voice. I also have in my description.
Inline description, call to actions on the description, call to action on the actual video itself.
Yep.
What else are you doing as well to make your videos stand out? That would be a good thing for individuals to say, hey, you know what? This would be a good tip to give them to help them stand out.
Like right now, you go on YouTube, there's at least 100 other realtors doing exactly what I'm doing now. When I started in 2019, I was one of the very few ones that were doing it.
Right.
Now, just everybody's doing a model home tour. And the thing is, I would tell everybody to go do the same model home tour. But what you're showcasing, right? And it's like, I keep saying it, you're showcasing your personality more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can all show the same house, but I'm going to showcase it my way, and I'm going to attract my tribe of people, right? So I guess ultimately you want to just focus on what value you're providing in the video. That's what's going to make your video stand out. And the thing is that makes my video stands out to the other person that's going to do their video is I actually take the time to learn about the model home. So I actually know, like, this is a flex space. You can convert this into a bedroom. You can do the bathroom with this here, or you can open this up. And I'm like, hey, what type of person is going to buy this? This is perfect for someone who has their parents staying with them. They want to have a downstairs room with so I'm literally painting the picture. I'm figuring out who is it going to buy this home, and I'm talking to that as well too.
Correct.
So little things like that. Obviously, make sure your audio is good. People don't want to hear messed up audio. Make sure your image is not shaky, right? You can just use your iPhone with a gimbal and be done.
Okay.
But honestly, I think a lot of people just get stuck in the analysis paralysis.
Correct.
Part of it, and honestly, just crank out the videos.
And you know one thing too, you said one thing just now that stuck out. You said there's a lot of other realtors doing what you're doing, model home tours on YouTube. The thing that really separates you is consistency. Those guys aren't being as consistent.
True.
They're just doing one video to get something out there, and they don't get any result, and then they stop.
And a lot of them are actually, what they're doing is they're paying someone to do the video for them, right?
Yeah.
So they're paying a professional to do it, which is okay because the video shows nice, but you're spending $250 a video. You can only do maybe 1 or 2 a month, maybe 4 a month, right? You know what I'm saying, right? A lot of overhead. I got my camera here. I can literally just walk through a house that I literally just showed a client. I can literally just walk through it real quick.
Yep.
And within hours, I can have the video up.
So if somebody's getting going, let's just kind of, because I already know what real estate agents or people who want to be a real estate agent, what they're thinking with this strategy. What would you say it would cost an individual to actually do what you're doing to get going on YouTube?
Initial costs, if you want to do decent, if you actually have, the thing is, honestly, to get started, you can start with your iPhone. If you have an iPhone 16
everyone's
or 14,
got one of those.
You know what I'm saying? The wide angle lens is perfectly fine. Just get that. Buy a DJI gimbal. It's like $150 for the gimbal. And then buy a microphone, which it might cost
like a DJI microphone.
Maybe it costs you,
or a rod microphone.
Correct. Yeah, anything like that. Maybe another $150, $200, right? So maybe, under $500, you know what I'm saying?
$300-$400 they can get going.
Yeah.
You guys have a phone, you go buy mics, and you get a gimbal, right?
That's all you need right there.
That's it.
You can go to community, like a farmer's market, right? You can go to a community event and record stuff like that. You could go do model home tours, all that stuff. You can go walk around a community, all that's easy to get it done.
Yep.
If you want to go a little bit higher up, invest in, honestly, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. This is what I use now. It's very easy and convenient. Everything in one form. It comes with the mic and everything. It's about like $700 for the combo kit. Very worth it. And then get yourself a mini drone. It's like another maybe $500 on that. So You do that, that'll make your videos not quite professional level, but it's good where it's like
Good
it
enough.
stands out. It's like people are, oh wow, I can
Right.
see different angles of this here and everything. And it's very
Right.
pleasing to watch.
Gives them different perspective.
Exactly. And
Right.
very high quality.
So, like you said, I noticed with everything, not just, you know, being a realtor, creating content, whatever, we as human beings tend to, you know, do analysis paralysis is what you just said, right? Which is very true. What would you say, what is one tip you can give someone to get into gear and not go into analysis paralysis?
So the first thing you should do is right now in your room, wherever you are, as you're working, just find a camera, turn it on, put it on. Just as you're doing your work, just put the camera on and just leave it on so you're just aware of the camera and keep doing what you're normally doing. Eventually, over time, you'll literally just forget that the camera is there and you'll literally just see yourself just start talking to the camera randomly for no reason, right? And then over time, literally just on your day-to-day operations, and then you're not posting any of this content. You're literally just doing it just to get familiar on camera. So you just putting it in your room. And eventually, over time, you'll literally get over the camera.
Because it's very intimidating for people doing what we're doing right now and being on camera, hearing themselves speak, listening to the recording of what they said. It's very intimidating process.
I agree. And the thing is, I hate rewatching my videos. I hate listening to back to myself. You know what I'm saying? That's why
I'm the opposite. I love it.
That's why I'm like, I'll pay an editor or just because I don't have to listen to it. So I hate that part. So I'm cool with just getting in front of it, do whatever I got to do, and be done with it.
Yeah. So in modern day age realtor in 2025, your top recommendation.
See, the thing is, the modern day realtor in 2025. See, the thing is, if anybody was looking to get into real estate right now, just start. I'm gonna be honest with you, it might not be the best decision. Those are just the facts. Like you're gonna be thrown to the wolves. You're literally competing out here with all these other companies that have brands and systems and processes already established, right? And then there's other big companies like Zillow and Redfin, and they're coming for us. You know what I'm saying? Even the regular mom and pops brokers and teams, I see their business models are changing.
Yeah.
Right. It's only a matter of time before a company like Zillow flips their business model to just become a virtual brokerage, kind of like how an EXP or a real broker is, whereas like you just one big national brokerage and everyone just kind of works under the brokerage. It's only a matter of time before they do something like that, and they will crap on all the other virtual brokerages, right? And I'm a huge fan of the virtual broker. I love my company, our brokerage Real, right? We get stock options, revenue share, right? So,
love it.
You know, it's really great, but I'll understand people's mind share is stuck there. So a new agent starting off right now is going to be tough. So unless you're willing to put into work with your database and work that over and over, and like he said, you're only going to be as good as your next deal unless you start to build your own brand and your own reputation.
So this is my point. If you're an agent and you're listening to this, my point is, if you are selling real estate right now and someone like a big monster like Zillow comes in and eats the whole marketplace because they got the data, they got the money, they got the resources, they got the people, and they wipe you out, and you've been in the real estate game 5, 10, 15 years, like your dad, 25 years.
Yep.
What are you going to do?
Very true.
Nothing.
And honestly,
you have nothing at the end of the day. This is my point. And that's the big downfall of being a realtor is I tell people when I got in the game, I was smart. I used being a real estate agent as a vehicle to get from point A to point B. Point B for me was a real estate investor. Point B was a tomorrow money, not a today money. And I always tell people, if you want to be a realtor, you're making today money. You're not making long money. You're making short money. You're not marrying your money. You're dating your money. And so if you want to solve that problem and you truly do love real estate, you got to own the product that you're selling.
Correct.
And that's why I kind of really got out of the game of being a realtor, was because I just saw a lot of rooms of people who were just talking about how can we sell more real estate, which is cool and all, and you can make a lot of money. But if you're not pivoting into something that is tangible that you can exit and sell one day and have something to show for one day, then what are you doing this for? If you're doing it for a stepping stone, okay. But I don't think enough agents have awareness
I agree.
about what's going on right now in the industry that we're in. And they don't realize that you are being attacked. You're being attacked on a daily basis. And I think a lot of these companies that have come out like Real and EXP, you know, they've built these downlines and they've built other sources of income for agents, which I love. I love that because they have something, a little something at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But just like you said, if a Zillow or a Redfin comes along and they gobble up all these virtual brokerages, what do you have at the end of the day?
I agree. 1,000%, man.
What is your prediction? Or I don't know how much you've been following it. And I haven't been following that much a lot. So I can't really speak on I know what Zillow's doing. I know what Redfin's doing, but I don't know like deep, like what their really intentions are. And I can see where it could be potentially going. What's your take on that?
So Zillow's previous business model is where they would basically sell leads from certain zip codes to
Correct.
real estate agents that would pay whoever is willing to pay the highest bid for the leads in that zip code.
Yep.
They've completely gotten away from that. Instead of selling the leads in the zip codes, you can't even get leads in zip codes anymore. Now,
you can't buy leads in zip codes.
You can't buy
anymore?
leads in zip codes anymore. So now what happens is what they're doing is the listing agents. So let's say you have a listing. Now you can pay Zillow to have your listing become a premier showcase listing is what they're calling it.
Okay.
So now it stands out a little bit more on Zillow. So anybody shopping on Zillow, it'll be like some stars and sparkles around it, right?
They push that in the algorithm probably more.
Exactly, right? So, and it presents itself a little bit nicer on the app as well too. So aesthetically, it's a little bit more pleasing,
So
right?
any agent can pay for that service?
If they have a listing, correct. Yeah, they can do that, right? And then now when someone clicks that contact button on the Zillow app, it'll go to the listing agent, whereas before it used to go to whoever the agent was paying for that lead in that zip code, right?
Okay.
So they've completely changed it now. So whereas like, okay, yeah, if this is your listing, you're paying for the showcase, you get the lead now, right? So that's kind of how they're shifting their business model. So what I can kind of see them kind of going to, because in all real estate brokerages, EXP, Real, LPT, right? Most brokerages, they struggle because they cannot supply leads to all their agents. The 30,000 agents that they have, they can't give all those agents leads, right? So the agents like myself that are on a brokerage like Real, we have to either create our own brand and generate our own leads. This is where our YouTube videos and all that stuff come into play. So we're generating all our leads ourselves, right?
And have control.
And have control over our leads, right? So I can see Zillow because everybody loves Zillow. Everybody knows Zillow. You go to 10 people on the street and you ask them to pull up a real estate house or something, 9 out of 10 times they're pulling up Zillow, right? So what I can see Zillow doing is, let's say they shift to a virtual business model, just like, let's say Real, where they're offering agents, an 85-15 split. After you get to a certain level, you get 100% commission. You get stock options in the company, Zillow now, right? So whenever you recruit agents as well, you get stock options. Whenever you sell a house, you get stock options. Now, you as an agent on let's say you're in Zillow brokerage, right? You have your team with Zillow brokerage. You can go and get your own leads and whatnot, right? And they'll split that 85-15 with you. But now let's say Zillow has someone on their platform that's like, hey, I'm looking for an agent, whatever. And then they match to, let's say you have a certain zip code that Zillow assigned to you, right? So now what'll happen is now that lead will go to you and Zillow can control, like, okay, now we want a 50% split out of that deal. So now Zillow can offer leads to all the agents across the country.
Right.
Take splits out of it, right? And also have other agents build a business.
Are they doing that right now? Aren't they with their buyer leads? I thought there's some
markets that
Zillow Flex or something.
The Zillow Flex program
where you can actually sign on and it's a 70-30 split.
Correct.
Where they still have the buyer traffic coming through, and if you close the deal, you owe them 70%. Is that right?
Correct. They take like 35%
or 30%.
Yeah, they take like a 35%.
Okay.
Yeah. So that Zillow Flex, which is so I can see them basically doing that now at scale, just as a normal business model. And honestly, if I'm the CEO of Zillow and I'm looking at this stuff, I feel like it's a no-brainer. Like, okay, we need to get to this level. But obviously, as a business person, I'm thinking you can't just do it overnight because it kills your business model overnight. Right. And obviously your investors and shareholders,
So their main revenue right now is one of their main revenue sources off of the premier listings, right?
Yep.
And
the
Flex program. So they're no longer selling leads at all in any zip codes.
Correct. Yeah. They're discontinuing those.
Every market is like that.
Well, they're slowly rolling it out. So I know there might still be some markets that probably have it.
Yeah,
but
it was funny because I'll tell you a funny story. I built my realtor business off Zillow.
I started with Zillow leads. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's how I learned so much.
In 2015, in the office I was in, which was Exit Realty Central, downtown Orlando, it was funny because I remember agents were saying that Zillow online leads were garbage. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. I said, I got $500. I didn't listen to them. And I had $500 a month that I can allocate towards Zillow leads. And so I went to somebody else in my office and I said, hey, bro, and that didn't give me a whole bunch of leads. But at the time, actually, leads were about $20 to $30 per inquiry. They were cheaper.
Yeah.
And then I remember when I went to one of my business partner at the time, we were talking about partner up as a real estate team. And I said, yo, you got 500 you want to spend? He's like, I'll spend 500 a month. So we had 1,000, right? Then I found out that you can get a lender to do contribution too. So then we got a lender to match our 1,000. So we had 2,000 a month. And so then we start literally, we got a CRM. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm getting all these agents telling me that the Zillow leads are bad. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let me work them. Let me see the result. So I started working them, started scrubbing them, I'm making calls all day long. And then just like you said earlier, like I had a lot of shots in the air. What was the analogy you used earlier?
Yeah, a lot of shots up in the air. It's like basketball.
Yeah,
Yep.
I had a lot of shots in the air, but they didn't go through the hoop yet, And I had that, right? And it was like a year later. I remember we first closed I would say maybe 8 months to a year. We closed our first Zillow lead. I got excited. I was like, man, I got this lead off Zillow. It was like $550,000 lead. And it was off of the Home Partners program.
Okay.
I think they buy the house, they rent it to the person. It was
okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Home Partners program. It's one of those programs where they buy the home, they lease it to the individual with the option to purchase. Right. Anyways, so I sold that house, and so then I was like, okay, well, this does work if you work the leads, right? And that's the way I built my business, was off of online leads. And then I did that same thing with Realtor.com, and then I started comparing them, which is better leads, right? And I always tell agents, the best lead is the one you work, the one you nurture. A lot of times agents don't have a conversion ratio is because they don't understand that they don't have the right systems and processes in place to able to have an outcome of a conversion rate. And so it's just like the same thing with a CRM. The best CRM is actually the one you use. So I always tell agents, like, if you're getting in the game and you're buying online leads or whatever type of lead gen you have, you need to understand the life of that lead, right? And understand that really it's not a lead yet. It's an opportunity that goes into a lead, right? That gets converted into a sale. And so it's important for you to understand that cycle and what that cycle looks like and how much time that cycle has. That way you have proper expectations, because a lot of people get in this business and they're like, oh, I'm going to make a quick buck, or I'll have my first closing in 30 days. Or you hear this is what I hate about the brokerages. They'll highlight these top producing agents. When they or not top, or newbie agents that, Kelsey had 4 closings in her first month. Thinking like, come on, bro. Like we know what you're doing. You're trying to make it seem like everybody, is that achievable? Absolutely. But the reality is the statistics don't show that everyone's going to have 4 closings in 1 month. Yep. So you need to have proper expectations and proper processes in place. So my thing is if you're watching this and you're a real estate agent coming from a top producing real estate agents, as we both are, you need to know if you have in your business, depending if you're scaling or not, do you have a people problem or a process problem? If you're working by yourself, you probably have a process problem if you're not converting, and you need to look at what your processes is and what the lifespan of that lead is and how you're looking, how are they converting, because a lot of people think, hey, I can call once and get a closing. And that's not the truth. Yeah. A lot of times to get someone on the phone these days, the last time I looked at it, was like 7, 8 attempts to have that first conversation from an online lead. Yeah. And if you're not calling the online within seconds, they've already talking to another agent.
They forgot about you.
Being that you do YouTube, I know you touched on a second ago that you didn't like Zillow or on those online leads. Why don't you like those online leads?
So I've when I first started, I bought the Zillow leads, I bought Realtor.com leads, right? Google pay-per-click ads, right? All those
Yep.
leads, right? I've done them all, and like you said, you got to have a process and a system in place to execute on those. And I did execute on those, but it took so much energy and effort, chasing, convincing, right? You had to be readily available. If you weren't, they was on to the next,
crazy,
right?
Can't even enjoy a weekend.
It's very true. Like there was no commitment level whatsoever, right, to those type of leads. And then obviously when I started doing, the YouTube leads, and then they would call in, and it was none of that. They were begging to work with me. So that's when I started to realize, okay, obviously
Gotcha.
it's a different game.
Got it.
And that's when I slowly just started to weed those out.
Okay. So you mean more perspective of the quality of the individual making contact with you.
Yeah.
You're basically saying, so people understand, is like when someone comes to me off my YouTube channel from one of my call to actions, either in my description or in my visual video, this lead is a lot more stickier to work with me versus them work with an agent on, let's say, a Zillow lead. That person's already contacted 15 different people, and it's harder for you to convert that deal.
Exactly. And I also think about this. Remember, that person's their front end, they're seeing it as Zillow. So they're looking at a big company, corporation. They probably want a little bit of separation from the realtor. That's why they're going through a platform like that, right? Because they just want it to be very corporatized. They don't want to have a personal relationship with a realtor. Mm-hmm. Someone calling me from a YouTube video, they're like, oh yeah, I like this guy. I want to have a personal relationship. I want details. And the thing is, I only want to work with people that actually want to work with me. If you don't want to work with me, or we don't have a similar vibe and it's going to be tough, honestly, at that point, it just might be better for us to not,
Which, again, your YouTube channel is filtering people.
Exactly.
Because the people who come to you are people who your YouTube channel has filtered, and they look at you like, wow, I like his energy. I like his vibe. I like his tight shirt that he wears. I like his high water pants.
I like his beard.
I like his beard. I like his high water pants. I like his smile. Bro, this guy, man, I like working with him.
Yeah.
And so it's created a filter versus on Zillow and Realtor.com. I call it the Wild Wild West. Yep. If somebody is searching online like they are with Zillow and Realtor.com, they're probably on, Redfin. They're probably on homes.com. They're probably on all these different type of sites. And what I've noticed when I used to work these type of leads is that the consumers are very confused. A lot of them, think they're reaching out to the listing agent, and they're not.
Yep.
Because I always tell people, when they're on the consumer side, because they have that confusion. I said, well, these sites are they're data aggregators. They've provided a platform for you to search for a home, but they're really lead generation tools, right? That they sell your information off when you make that click to people like me, And that's what actually I used to tell people. Yeah. And they're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize it worked like that. And so then you want to, it's actually, that's a little bit of value to give someone, even though it's not about about home, but it was the truth. And people want to work with somebody who's real, right? And so when I worked with people, I always, felt out the vibe of that individual. And again, it's the Wild Wild West. You never know who you're going to get on the other side of that phone and what they're looking for and what their intentions are. Yeah. So I saw there was a lot of confusion on Zillow when I was working Zillow and Realtor.com leads. And I even was on homes.com. And I remember at one point, bro, I was at like 10 G's a month I was spending, for years. And I built a business off of it. But again, I had systems and processes in place that would convert these leads, and that's when I started building a team. And then fast forward today, I still have a listing sales business that does about $10 million a year. And we pretty much only do listings.
That's awesome.
And now I have a team that I built from under me. But see, I was smart. I knew, again, going back in 2015, 2016, that I was only as good as my next sale. And I knew that I needed to build something to where I can leverage my time and have other people do the buyer consultations and do the listing appointments and be able to do the paperwork. That way that my business and my brand is still there, but I can focus on other things like my investments, and I still have that business. Yep. And so I always tell people, the way I look at being a real estate agent, it's a cash injection that I get every single month that I can allocate those funds and invest those funds in other things. And that's how I got started. So you didn't really like the Zillow because they weren't sticky enough. You like
Also, I mean, the zip codes I was buying at
Yeah.
the time were in St. Cloud. I'm living in Claremont, so it was like an hour drive, right? So
And you were probably buying those zip codes because outsole was affordable.
that was the one that were
Because-
available as well too. Yeah, and the
and
Claremont zip was like
Right.
$5,000 a month
Right.
just to get like a small portion.
Crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy. And I remember that they were making agents compete on market share.
yeah. And the thing is, man, some of these big teams that have the big budgets, they can easily they can just own a market by just having a big budget.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Robert Slack?
Oh yeah.
So Robert Slack, he's spending upwards of, I know him.
Okay.
He was spending upwards of $1 million a month
Wow,
in lead generation.
that's crazy.
He had like 30 or 40 ISAs, something like that. Some nuts number. I actually just did a couple deals with them, a couple of his team leads. I actually know Robert Slack. My family cuts his lawn.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my family owns a landscape company, and he scaled out his brokerage and title company in Florida, and he was spending about $1 million a month just on Realtor.com,
Wow.
and he still works Realtor.com
Yeah.
leads. So just imagine how much risk he
Yeah.
has and overhead he has. So again, it comes down to, are these things converting?
Yeah.
What are the KPIs?
Yeah.
You know, what are you doing in your business that you would say to help convert? So let's say someone's watching this, they get the gimbal, which is, they can get a gimbal for 50 to 75, maybe $100 on Amazon.com. That's what stabilizes your phone when you're walking around. They have the cell phone already, and then they get some DJI mics for like $200, right? Then they start getting these leads in. Obviously, these consumers who are calling you that are opportunities or leads, they know, like, and trust you to a certain extent.
Yep.
But what are you doing on the back end? Let's say someone calls you today and, I'm looking to buy, not too sure. You feel like, from a hot, cold, warm lead, you would consider it probably a cold. What are you doing to now convert these people into closings, getting them through the hoop and scoring a point? What are you doing so people understand, like, wow, I know he taught me how to produce business, but how do I close business?
No, very good. So yeah. So from the moment, I like to track everything. So from the moment someone calls in, I have a specific phone number that I use on YouTube. So whenever someone calls that number, I know this person is calling in from a YouTube video.
Okay.
Now,
is that Google Voice?
It's not Google Voice. It's a system I use CallRail.
Okay, so it's like Ringless, I think it's called.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like that.
Yeah,
so one of the things I absolutely love about CallRail is that you can have specific tracking numbers that you know where the source is coming from. You have the option to record the calls that are coming in, and it plays a whisper message to the consumer. So it says, this call may be recorded, right? So when they call, it says this call may be recorded. So when they call, the call is recorded, they're notified, right? So that way we can record the conversation from the get-go.
But plus that looks like professional. It's like, hey, this guy's got, who am I about to talk to? Wow.
Right. So
okay,
it's more for just CYA, just cover your ass type of thing, right? Because this is the biggest point that it comes to.
Right.
Because now it's recorded. The system CallRail has an AI that basically transcribes the entire conversation,
right? Just like Zoom.
And then it basically summarizes the conversation as well too, right? And then if there's certain keywords or whatnot, it does all of this. And now I have this integrated directly with our CRM. We use Lofty CRM, and I use this tool called Zapier, right?
Zapier, right?
Right? Where it basically just takes that call and all the summary and all that stuff, and then I would plugs it into our CRM. Whoever the agent was that took the phone call, it'll automatically assign it to that agent, right? So now the agent will now get that lead assigned to them in the CRM. They'll see a summary, right? A written summary in the notes section of that lead now. All their contact information will all be right there. And now we set them up on what's called smart plans in there, where it's dedicated times and to basically follow up with the lead depending on where they are in their process. So if this person now is a cold lead, we'll put them into our cold category. And now this basically sets off a trigger, some automations to basically remind the agent, hey, follow up with them, text them this, send them property alerts here. And then in our CRM system, I always tell my agents, like, every single conversation you have with someone, you always set the next appointment, whether that's going to be a phone call, a follow-up, if in physical meeting,
right?
Maybe it's a Zoom meeting as well too. Sometimes when the leads call in, they want to talk to me as well too. So I'll tell them, hey, just set up a meeting with me, and then I'll reach out to them. And right, so So that's what we'll do. And we just log everything in there. And we always make sure that there's a next task set up for that lead. Because if you don't set a task for that lead, that's basically you're saying, okay, I'm done with this lead.
Gotcha.
So, and then now obviously, we just make sure that that's followed.
So how long will you do that for? How long will you, what's the, like, when do you know when a lead is never going to buy? They're tire kickers.
Gotcha.
What's a good gauge that you're like, you know what? I've been following up with this guy for 3, 4, 5 years and it's just not going anywhere.
So when people do call in, we have a process. It's to make it simple. It's the who, what, when, where, why, how, right? So it's basically like a series of kind of questions that we try to dig out of people. And the biggest thing is the motivation, right? The why factor is like, why are you actually trying to make this move? When are you trying to make this move by? And depending on what those factors are is how we'll categorize them in either hot, warm, or cold. A hot lead would be like, hey, this person they're getting a job transfer that's coming over here. They're selling their house over there. They got to move down here.
Right.
They're already got their flights booked and everything.
Right.
They're coming down. That's a hot lead,
Right.
right? If they're like, oh, yeah, I'm thinking about moving to Florida. I don't like the weather over here anymore. You know what I'm saying? I'm retiring in the next couple of years. I want to see what the options are going to be like. Right. Right? So at that point, everyone is a client. I will never just be, oh, yeah, you're not ready right now. Just call me when you're ready. No, it's like, great. You know what I'm saying? Let me help you navigate that process. So we might just start maybe educating them more in the areas and the locations versus more than trying to find them specific houses. And then the follow-up time frame on that one might not be every week we'll follow up with a cold lead. On a hot lead, every week we're following up with that lead, maybe every single day, because we're sending them properties, getting their feedback. How does this look, right? Because we're trying to set up basically all the tours for when they do come. So, and the main thing with categorizing leads, and the reason why you want to categorize your leads is because you don't want to be spending majority of your time on a cold lead when you have these hot leads not being worked on, right? So by you categorizing, and here's the thing, your lead will know if they're hot or cold. And you can tell them, like, hey, I'm going to follow up with you in about a week, right? If they're cold, I'll give me about 2 weeks or whatever, right? They're like, okay, fine. But if they're really hot and you tell them that, they're like, no, I need this now.
Yeah. So, but at what point do you get, and who does, or maybe you haven't implemented this in your business, who does lead management for your team?
When you say lead manager, like who sends the lead to
who? Yeah, who is, for instance, obviously you're automating a lot of things and you're setting up tasks and you're setting up SOPs, technically standard operating procedures, for your agents to listen to or to follow. But essentially, I feel like there still can be a lot of stuff that slips through the cracks.
Oh yeah.
So who is managing the CRM and the lead management? You are.
I'm still, and that's the thing. I'm still in the process of, we're just trying to replace myself from all of these positions because I'm the manager, I'm the ISA.
Yeah. Because the way I look at it is like, bro, from a business guy to a business guy, from entrepreneur to entrepreneur, like, bro, you're killing it bringing in lead generation. You spending time in your CRM and you spending time coaching your agents, it's not the highest and best use of your time. And so you mentioned something to me earlier, like you like to double your business every single year. I would say that's one big bottleneck that you need to consider in your business. Like, how do I get someone to do the management, which you can technically get a VA to do that, bro? Like, you're actually causing yourself to lose money because you can just go on Upwork or Fiverr.com and get a VA, a really good VA, to do lead management and to constantly be on top of your agents to make sure that they're following up and to make sure there is truly a tax or another actionable step for that life of that lead while you're out recording videos. And that way you can still continuously do your one video per day or whatever your KPI is for however many communities you want to visit. So I can tell you right now, if I was to dissect your business, that would be one big bottleneck that I would say, bro, you got to stop after this podcast, go on Fiverr.com, type in lead management, type in the criteria and filter out some of the top A players and get a lead manager for your CRM. And then now you can start seeing what the KPIs are on you hiring that individual.
Yeah.
You know?
I 1000% agree with you. And I have tried some VAs in the past. I just haven't found the right person. And I've been having problems getting my agents to listen to a VA because they're like, oh, it's a VA. So I'm not going to lie. My goal this year is I want to hire an actual in-person admin assistant. I'm going to give them a percentage of each deal. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's gonna, so they're gonna,
Right. It's
they're gonna,
incentivizing him.
you know what I'm saying? So they're gonna be on top of that. So, but I 1000% believe, agree with you. That's
Right.
where I find the biggest bottleneck, because I should be out recording a new video every single day, right? So,
you
but
shouldn't,
instead,
you shouldn't even be talking to me.
and well, I like doing this type of stuff. Creating content, right? Creating content should be what I should ultimately be doing. Every single day, I should be creating content. And I like listings because listings create a little bit of leverage, and it's mostly kind of marketing kind of behind that. But
Yeah.
when I do 1000%. The admin assistant person on board, that's like thing. I have a role that actually is going to be. I'm going to call him my client success manager.
Yeah.
That's literally the role
Absolutely.
right there, because they're going to be responsible for the success basically for that client.
And I'm going to give you this one tip too. And this is where a lot of people fail at. A lot of people don't know how to hire talent.
I'll be honest. I am definitely one of those persons.
And so am I.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, but I could tell you from me hiring lots of different VAs and people and bringing into teams, and from the successes I've had, is people don't know how to hire talent. They hire wrong. Then they go to fire. And then they say, they do this continuously over and over and over and over. And they repeat the cycle.
Yep.
And then they don't realize that it's not a people problem, it's a process problem. And when these people who are new and they're a VA and they're onboarding with your company, they're getting acquainted with your processes. But a lot of times you might not have processes in place to follow. And a lot of times you might be hiring and this is going to sound funny, but you might be hiring a graphic designer to do lead management. Right. And I see that a lot. People are not hiring the right person. So you need to understand from a operation standpoint, you need to understand, is the person you're hiring, are they overqualified for the role or are they underqualified for the role? And are they very niched? This goes back to what we talk about, niched into doing that role. Yeah. So for instance, what I have found since I've been doing content, I'll be honest with you, I have found that I don't want to hire the person that can do it all. All types of edits, all types of, they can do the podcast edits, they can do the short form edits, they can do the graphic design, they can do thumbnail, they can do it all, right? Because what I have found is that person who can do it all is not good at anything. Yeah. Right. So I'm going to give an example, like the edit I showed you earlier from a previous podcast is done by a guy. All he does all day long is edit podcasts. That's it. He knows how to do really good intros from nothing. He knows how to do outros. He knows how to edit. He understands how many camera angles there were, where the main audio is. He's very niched. Yeah. And it was funny because I asked him, can you make me some thumbnails for this podcast? Right. Some of he said, Javier, I can do it, but I'm not that good at it. Right. And he was being honest, but I appreciate his honesty. And I'll do that sometimes just to test people to see what they say. And it was a test, this one. Mm-hmm. I wanted to see if he was willing to step out of his lane. Yeah. So my point to you is to make sure when you're doing your operations and you're hiring people, come back a little bit and think about, is it you that's not hiring right? And do you have an operations problem? Do you have an SOP problem? Because that person might not have the most success because you're not leading them to success. Yeah. That is one thing a good leader will understand how to do. You know, but you'll have to pull that curtain back at some point in order for you to double your business every single year. Yeah.
Now, good point. Now, I do believe that I do have systems and processes. The problem is I don't have it documented. It's all for me, and I'm not very good at telling people what it is. I get frustrated. So I do believe I need to start documenting.
Do you have Loom?
Who?
Do you have Loom?
Yeah, that's exactly where I use
Loom.
Yep.
ChatGPT. You're going to prompt ChatGPT on how to think like you, who you are, and what task you want him to create, or her, whatever. And then they're going to spit out that SOP, probably a better SOP than you've ever seen in your life. And then you can just attach Loom videos into the trainings. Gotcha. That's what I do with my teams.
That's a good idea. I like that.
That's exactly what I do. I keep it super simple. And I just take Loom and make videos on every single little thing. And you go through the SOP and then you can make modifications. You can have ChatGPT rewrite it. Yeah. But you have to tell ChatGPT how to think. How to formulate the information that you're giving them. And if you're not giving them enough context, they're not really going to give you the best SOP. Yeah. It'll always spit out a really good SOP, to be honest with you. But the best SOP that it can be possibly spitting out for your business, even talk about where you're at in your business. Talk about how, and this is the thing too, I'll also run through ChatGPT. Hey, this is what I'm doing in real estate right now. I'm doing this XYZ amount of sales. I'm doing this XYZ amount of volume of business every year. How can I double this? You know?
Yeah.
And again, that's you as the operator. You read through this, and now it's going to take you through a whole entire roadmap of how you double your business.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm acquiring all my business on YouTube. I'm getting leads there. I'm getting calls. We're doing really well. I have this amount of agents on my team. This is the brokerage. Give it as much context as possible and just see what it spits out. Yeah. Bro, honestly, I've been playing with ChatGPT more and more lately.
Me too, man.
I love it. I'm on it every day.
I'll sit there and just have conversations.
Oh, I was just about to tell you that. Yeah.
Like I have the most randomest things
inside
my ChatGPT.
People don't do that. Yeah. People don't realize that. You hit the voice thing and just have conversations with it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude, that is nuts.
I did see a article the other day though, how that with the rise of like these chat GPTs and like the AI stuff, that a lot of people's reasoning and stuff is kind of going away. Like their creativity and reasoning and stuff.
I could see that.
But I also see is like, hey, people are going to be, at least people that are good at asking the right questions, those people I think are going to be able to.
You're going to hear pros and cons about it, obviously, just like anything else. I look at it from an efficiency standpoint. It makes me more efficient in my business.
Way more.
And to be honest with you, the context it spits out to me, to be honest with you, it makes me think even more, because I think about like, wow, okay, I can be that much more detailed when I'm talking to somebody about a presentation or, stuff like that, and it makes me think more. I feel like, to be honest with you, it gives me more bullet points on certain things, that I can add in my tool belt. So, but
it's something that it really helps me organize my thoughts. I'm like, dang, this is exactly, but I just didn't have it in organized form. And then by just seeing it organized, you're like, cool. Now it just sticks better.
Yeah. So we've chatted about where you're from, Guyana, went to New York, how you're now producing business, which is through your primary source of business is YouTube. You're getting all the business through YouTube. By the way, how many calls are you getting per year on that?
Man,
I think I asked you last time. You said 700.
We was getting like 700-800 calls at one point. You know what I'm saying? Now
that's a lot.
Yeah, last year it probably went down to like maybe 250 to 300.
So even so, that's still a lot.
Yeah.
Right. Divided by 12, that's still, that's a decent amount just by you doing YouTube.
I remember the way I always look at it, these are hand raisers. You know what I'm saying? These are people. Correct. Not all of them are ready right now, but
we spoke about your primary business being YouTube. We spoke about Zillow, Redfin. By the way, did Zillow just buy Redfin or something like that?
No. What's it called?
Open Door? No. Who bought Redfin?
Yeah. Who was it that bought Redfin?
Somebody just bought Redfin. Homes.com? No.
Rocket Mortgage.
Rocket Mortgage. That's what it was. Yep. Yeah. Man, so much things are happening. It's crazy. So Rocket Mortgage.
Don't sleep in them. They're trying to rival Zillow hard. So they're trying to create basically the front end platform as well too, with the houses, agents, because Redfin has agents, right?
Right, of course.
And they also Redfin has some pretty decent data as well too.
Yeah. So then we talked about Zillow and Redfin a little bit, how it's kind of disrupting the market. We spoke about just now how you are now converting these leads. What are you doing? What is one tip you would give individuals for the leads you've closed and how to get repeat business off of those individuals? I always say database. And me as a top producing agent, I always tell people when I teach people, I say, love on your database.
Yep.
You don't always need new leads. And that's where a lot of people get confused, because the people you've already sold to that know, like, and trust you, why don't you love on them a little more to get their friends and family and their coworkers to send you business?
Yep. Man, I'll tell you what, that's 1000% where the bread and butter will actually come. Remember I told you about my dad, 20-something years in, most of his business comes from referrals from all the previous people that he's closed deals with. And as I proceeded my business, I realized, oh, wow, my referrals from my previous clients are some of the best ones. Like, for instance, like today, we're going to put a new house on the market, right, in Davenport. We're going to list it for $650.
Are you listing that with the Zillow Premier listing?
I am going to be listing that with the Zillow showcase.
By the way, does that, how much is it?
$350 per listing.
per
Yeah.
listing. And do they take the photos or they don't take the
No,
photos?
I have to go.
So all you do is send them the photos.
So the thing is, you have to use a photographer that's actually approved by Zillow for their Zillow media showcase thing. So and it's easy for a photographer to get approved by it. So, but yeah, the photographer has to upload it themselves to the Zillow portfolio.
So
platform.
you don't even touch the photos.
No, I don't touch it. Yeah.
I like that. So that kind of streamlines it. Then you can kind of organize it or no?
Yeah, I can organize it, and then obviously they'll upload the 3D tour and all that stuff.
But usually it goes from MLS to Zillow. So how does it go from Zillow to MLS?
So once I put it into the MLS, right, it'll see that, okay, I'm the agent. That's my listing. The photographer, when he uploads those photos to that address, it'll basically match my MLS listing to his upload. And then basically on public, it'll just show as Zillow showcase listing with all the uploaded detail. And here's the other big thing that Zillow is trying to get into, obviously with this whole new push with, I don't know if you guys know about the Apple Vision Pro, the 3D reality stuff. So
it's like the Meta glasses.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. Well, not the Meta glasses, the Meta Quest. Like,
okay.
It's basically.
Oh yeah. Yes.
It's virtual reality basically. So
Gotcha.
essentially, in the future, Zillow is expecting that you can actually tour a home in virtual reality using like an Apple Vision Pro. So you can literally just sit here and just walk through multi-million-dollar houses, literally from that. So that's kind of their
probably through like a Matterport, and you're actually,
exactly, and that's what it is. So on that Zillow showcase, it has all that information, right? The Matterport tour, right? And so you can just click through and see what each your room and stuff kind of looks like. So. Yeah, so that's that kind of their push.
Wow. So between Redfin, Zillow, which Redfin's now owned by Rocket Mortgage, and Zillow at some point, they opened up they started doing home loans as well.
Yep.
And again, they have the data, they have the people, they got the money, they got the power. How soon, in your opinion, do you see this really being something that really starts hindering?
10 years.
10 years.
I think 10 years.
Oh, he didn't even let me get it out.
I got basically disrupting this, and I could see 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah. And that's why ideally, I think in 10 years, I would like to retire from real estate sales, traditional, what I'm doing on day to day now. I would love to still have my business and team and brand still executing. However, that's going to be in the marketplace. I'm willing to evolve.
Gotcha. So what's your exit strategy?
My exit strategy, man, I'm buying real estate. That's my ultimate goal. Like, what got me into real estate in the first place was real estate investing. Like, okay, I guess let me kind of finish a little bit more of my story.
Oh, man, you didn't give me the whole scoop?
So, man.
Come on, man.
So when I was like 16 years old, right?
Okay.
I used to have to help my dad out with open houses on the weekend and stuff like that. And I absolutely hated it. Like, I hated real estate with a passion. Going, sticking down open house signs and sitting around
empty houses with spider webs in it.
I hated that. You know what I'm saying? And in retrospect, my dad was smart. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just have my son just kind of hold this here. I'm gonna go out and do other things. You know what I'm saying? Do other showings and whatnot. So I'm like, oh, it makes sense now. So, but anyway, so I hated real estate. I did not want to do real estate whatsoever. I was printing out postcards and filling mailers and all this stuff, and yeah, man, it wasn't for me. Anyways, I went to college for engineering, right? So I was always been a tech guy. You know, I love cars. That's always been my thing. So naturally, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna get into the engineering space. In college, I love to learn, right? And I wanted hands-on learning. And the thing is, in college, man, I'll be honest, man, they just so much run around. I'm like, they didn't give me the classes that I actually wanted. Like, I don't want to take humanities. I don't want to go to English class. Like, I want to take robotics. You know what I'm saying? I want to do mechanics. You know what I'm saying? So I got a little distracted in college, and eventually I realized, you know what? Maybe the engineering thing is not for me. I started to realize, okay, I think maybe I might be more into business, and I love numbers. So I made the switch basically to go into finance and accounting, right? So that's basically what I ended up finishing up my college. Is accounting and finance. And as I was in college, I was also working at AT&T, right? Part-time. Well, actually, no, full-time at AT&T. I'm making like 50, 60K a year, right? Making a decent amount of money. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to figure something out because I don't want to be working like this the rest of my life. I'm looking at my managers and everything. I was like, I don't want to work. I don't want to be them. I was like, this is ridiculous. Does it mean to tell me that if me moving up is like, that's what I'm going to be? I was like, this is just, this doesn't make any sense. So I just started doing a lot of research to try to figure out, okay, what do the wealthy people do? How are people so wealthy? I was working at Bay Hill, Dr. Phillips. I'm seeing people pulling up with McLarens and Porsches and Lamborghinis, and I'm helping them and I'm talking to them and they're telling me, the common thing, a lot of them were like, oh yeah, real estate. A lot of them are real estate investors. They have other businesses and stuff like that, right. Commercial stuff. I'm like, wow. So that was basically got me down the path. I'm like, okay.
And what were you doing at Bay Hill?
I was working at AT&T, selling
okay.
cell phones, AT&T service, Direct TV, and all that.
You were door knocking?
No. We were just in store sales. People would just
got it. Okay,
come through the door.
Got it.
You upgrade your phone, right? So type of thing. So the biggest thing, we were making commission, and the biggest commission was you sell Direct TV. That was the whole thing. So, but anyways, yeah. So I'm meeting all these wealthy people, and they're telling me about real estate and whatnot. So as I'm there, I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me start looking into real estate. I don't know, Bigger Pockets?
Yeah.
So basically went down the rabbit hole of Bigger Pockets, like day and night. As I'm at work, I'm literally on Bigger Pockets, looking at the videos on the forum, just learning as much as I can, just learning every single thing about the burst strategy, cap rates, cash and cash return, internal rate of returns. Like I'm literally just learning every single thing that I possibly can about this. And I'm like, man, you know what? If I want to actually become wealthy and have financial freedom, the way to do this is through real estate. There is really not very much other options. So eventually I just started doing this. And I'm like, man, I got to get into real estate. I got to learn as much as I possibly can. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to buy my first investment property. So that's why I started looking at properties and all that stuff. My dad was a real estate agent. So he was my real estate agent, right?
Okay.
To look for the properties. So as I'm looking at properties and I'm looking at his operations and how he's running his business and what I'm doing at AT&T and all this stuff. And then something kind of clicked and I was like, wait a minute. What I'm doing at AT&T is not very much different from what my dad is doing. We're in sales, right? We're very much selling a product. We're consulting with someone, trying to figure out exactly what they're looking to do.
Right.
And then we're matching them to a product or inventory that's available, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is his equivalent to someone walking through the front door is somebody calling his phone, right? And then he just has to know the inventory. He has to drive to show the product. Whereas somebody at AT&T, somebody walks through the front door. I go show.
You got on the shelf, right?
I can show it. You know what I'm saying? And then we were just figuring out the deal right there. So I'm like, this is very. I already know that I could do sales in a sense, right? I just need to know more about the house or the product that I'm selling. And then just things just started to click left and right. And I was like, you know what, man? I want to know every single thing that there is to know about this real estate business. Because if I'm going to be a good investor, I need to know the industry. I need to understand how the ins and outs of this is going to work. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a pause on basically buying my investment property, which I kind of regret. I ain't going to lie. But
it would have been worth a lot of money.
Let's not even talk about that. But anyways, everything happens for a reason. But anyway, I was like, let me take a pause on that. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get my real estate license. So I basically started to save up, right? Get my real estate license at the time. I got my real estate license at that AT&T store while I was getting paid. In between clients, I'm literally on my computer just doing my managers, all my other colleagues, they're watching me do this as well too. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm literally getting my real estate license. They're like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm literally going to, as soon as I get my real estate, I'm quitting here and I'm going to go do real estate. I'm literally telling them, they're like, oh, he ain't going to do this. So they literally watched me get my real estate license. I passed my exam. 2 weeks later, I told them, yo, I'm done. I quit. I had money saved up, and I was like, all right, this is gonna have to cover me. And I remember that August, I quit. I made it
full time.
I made it very public as well too. When I quit AT&T, I made a post on social media. I quit. I had Kobe had retired at the time as well too. I had Kobe's jersey on the wall, and I took my AT&T shirt with my badge. I put it up on the wall as well too. And this is my retirement wall. I was like, I will never go back to a 9-to-5. So I made it very public to my family, my friends, everyone. I was like, I'm never going back to this. And I was like, yeah, bro. And
did any of your family or friends laugh at you or tell you, discourage you not to do real estate?
Not to my face.
No.
I don't think that anyone did it to my face. I honestly think.
But do you think people behind your back was like, oh, this guy's not going to succeed?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think my parents, for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
even though your dad was in the game.
Oh, yeah, even so. You know what I'm saying? Because they wanted me to go the traditional route, you know what I'm saying? Just work corporates, you know what I'm saying? Move up and, kind of, do that type of thing. But I was like, I see things. So I was like, I'm gonna figure this out. And the thing is, man, the first 2 years, it was a struggle. Like it wasn't, because I started in 2016. It wasn't until 2019, you know what I'm saying, that my business really started to take off. So,
yeah. And you never ever worked with your dad at all? Like, I know you did the open house thing with him as a child.
No, ever since when I got into real estate. So
did you get your license and work with him at all?
No.
Wow. Well, that's kind of impressive, because most people who has a sibling or a family member in real estate and they're in real estate and they're successful in real estate, they're going to work with them.
So I didn't work with him like directly, like with his brokerage or anything like that, but he was my mentor. Like, he helped me throughout every deal, you know what I'm saying, up until that point. Like, he was my thing. As a matter of fact, my very first deal came from a family friend, right, that was going to use him to basically list the property. But my dad basically told the guy, he's like, hey, you know what? let's let Marlon do this. And I'll super grateful for that guy to this day. Every single time I see him, you know what I'm saying? Parties or whatnot, you know what I'm saying? I'm always so grateful for this guy because he literally gave me my first shot at a listing, you know what I'm saying? So super grateful for that. But anyways, yeah, he gave me my first kind of thing there. And yeah, man, it's just, he can tell like, yo, okay, I'm not the type of person to go door knocking, cold calling. And you know what I'm saying? My dad is that type of person. I'm the opposite. So, and that's why I started realizing I got to figure something out. And that's why I'm pretty sure they thought that, oh yeah, it's going to be tough for me to make it work. And when they started hearing that I'm going to start doing videos and I'm telling them I'm doing,
they're laughing at you.
Oh yeah, of course. You know, no one. I'm pretty sure because whenever I see my family members, they're like, they still can't believe that. Wow, yeah, this video stuff is taking off.
Were you a natural at first?
Videos?
Yeah.
Oh hell no.
No.
Oh hell no.
No.
It took me maybe 2 years of getting over camera shyness.
Do you ever get camera shy anymore?
Nah. Now, yeah, I don't even care.
No, you don't care. You just it's very natural. It's just not. It's another thing.
Exactly. Right? It is what it is. So
wow.
And the thing is, like I said, it took 2 years of recording myself, just not posting any content, and then eventually I just got over it. Like I would go out and with my friends and stuff like that. And I'm just recording.
Yeah. So what does your investment goals look like right now? So obviously you're selling real estate as a residential real estate agent right now. You plan to exit in 10 years. You're working with the real brokerage, but what does your real estate investment look like right now? And what are you aiming for?
Honestly, right now, investment wise, if I can find something multifamily, right? Okay. That would be ideal. Something maybe where I can live in one unit, rent out maybe 3 other units or a couple more other units. That would kind of be ideal. Mm-hmm. For right now, that's kind of what my strategy is for right now.
Are you gonna just go the traditional route, working with a bank and getting a bank loan to acquire that piece of real estate?
Yeah, most likely. Yeah. So, and obviously, I'm open to creative financing as well too. So, if anybody has, something that they want to kind of, get off, I'm willing to do creative financing on deals as well too. So,
gotcha.
But I'll be honest with you, the more and more that I've been in this business, and I didn't think about this, but the more that I've been in this, I realized that ultimately, I think where I'm gonna make my majority of my wealth, I think is gonna be in building houses.
Gotcha.
Because I've just gained so much wealth of knowledge, and I understand what people are looking for now, and then I understand the development of the building process so much now. I'm like, hey, you know what? I think that could possibly be
that's a good
my
story.
Next step. So that's so that's what I'm thinking. Maybe in the next 10 years,
developer.
I can see myself becoming a developer, and I feel like that's very sellable.
Yeah,
I can sell that to a Lennar or a DR Horton or a Toll Brothers, right? Because I realize developers, you can just go into communities and specific areas that are up and coming. You develop an entire neighborhood, and you basically just sell off that neighborhood to a builder that's got something going. So
yeah, or what's really popular right now is what's called build to rent.
Yeah,
where they'll build a whole entire community, 100 homes, and they'll rent them out.
I saw those. Yeah,
right. Yep. Now you have a whole portfolio of homes, and then they'll keep it for a few years, and then they'll resell it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that would be a good story for you, actually, because you started in the walkthrough, custom home walkthroughs and going into development. So that would be, a really good play there. When I first started investing in real estate, I was using loan products to invest. Before, you never hear the saying, you don't know what you don't know. Mm. And 4 years ago, I stumbled across creative finance. Mm. And then that's when I was like, dude, the game has changed for me. I don't even want to look at banks anymore because now I'm subject to bank rates.
Yep.
Right. And when you really start learning the power of investing in real estate, it's just like you said just now, you wish you would have bought that deal years ago. Because I always tell people cash flow is icing on the cake. When you buy a piece of real estate, you get lots of benefits. I say you always get over 5 different benefits when you buy one piece of real estate. You said earlier that piece of property, you wish you would have bought it. I guarantee why, because it's worth probably double in value.
Probably more. It was 175, like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath around here.
Correct. So that's one of the beautiful things about real estate is appreciation. Mm-hmm. That's one of the verticals that is beautiful about it. You got cash flow, you have depreciation, you can get rid of, you can do cost segregations. You could do so many different things to a piece of real estate to manipulate it. That's what I love about real estate, right? Mm-hmm. It's something that you can actually take it, it's tangible, and you can manipulate it in so many different ways.
Very true.
You can tap into the equity via a cash out refinance, a HELOC loan. You could do 1031s. You could do so many different things. And I always tell individuals who like to invest, I'm like, that's why I don't really go into the stock market. And that's why I don't go into cryptocurrency. Not that I don't believe in those vehicles. I think they're great vehicles. If you, for instance, have higher risk tolerance, or you're willing to wait a long time, periods of time, but you have no control.
Yeah.
And I always say, you know, those are higher risk investments, and you can go into safer stocks. I get that. Blue chip stocks. I understand. And I've had a bunch of stocks. I've owned a bunch of stocks. But if the CEO of that company makes a certain decision,
makes a random tweet,
right, that can be detrimental to my shares that I have no control over.
Correct.
But us owning real estate, we have full control, and we can manipulate that piece of real estate so many different ways. And that's when I first started. I'm going to tell you, Marlon, one of the things that really got me addicted is I tell people I'm addicted to real estate. I'm addicted to real estate because I understand what the vehicle can do.
Yeah.
It's changed my life, bro.
Yeah.
Like my life is changed, bro, because of real estate. And I have to say, and I will give credit to being a real estate agent for that, because it started out with being a real estate agent.
Yep.
Then I saw the other side of the table and what investors were doing. And I was like, shit, I want to sit on the other side of the table. And what got me really intrigued was, like, I saw my business partner at the time. He was the guinea pig and he was investing in real estate. And I was like, shit, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
Oh, he's doing that strategy. I'll do that strategy. Oh, he's doing that strategy. I'll do that strategy. And I just kept doing exactly what he was doing, and not overthinking anything or doing YouTube videos or anything. I was just like, oh, he's doing that. I'll do that too. Oh, he's doing that. I'll do that too. If he can do it, I can do it. We're business partners.
Yeah.
And that's actually a mentality that I had. And I always tell people success is due to proximity. So if you're in proximity to individuals who are successful in whatever that is, it could be a sport, it could be, you know, they're the best pickleball player, it could be they're the best real estate investor, or they're really good at what they do and craft. You get around those people, you will become really good at that craft, you know? So is there anything right now, other than what you're doing with YouTube and building your team, that keeps you a step ahead or motivates you, or a coach? What gives you inspiration every day?
Inspiration every day. Well, I mean, I guess, man, knowing where I want to be and knowing that I'm nowhere close to those levels, that just basically, you know, lights a fire under my butt. You know what I'm saying? So, and I don't know, I guess maybe I'm never the type of person to kind of be complacent. Like, I'm always, you know, like, what's the next level? Once you achieve something, it's like, what's the next level?
Right.
So, I can't say. The thing is that sometimes I ask myself, like, I have to tell myself, like, yo, you should take a break. Like, you know, like, just take your foot off the gas. Go relax a little bit. So I think ultimately it's just that I'm not in the stage that I want to be at right now. And I know, you know, time is of the essence. And I honestly feel like there's a very good point in the marketplace right now. Like you said, there's disruption happening in this real estate industry. Like, it's ripe for the taking, right? It's only whoever's willing to put in the work and the dedication, stay consistent, right, is going to earn that. And I want to be on top. Like, my goal is, you know what I'm saying, to be one of the top real estate sales team in Central Florida around here.
Gotcha.
Right? So, like, just how you guys will know, like, the Ryan Serhan's name, I would love for you guys to know the Prasad Group brand. So,
and that's the name of your
my
group.
team. That's my team. Yep.
Prasad?
Prasad Group. Yep.
Prasad Group. Okay. Prasad Group. And are you guys, so you guys want to be the top real estate go-to for residential real estate? You said you wanted to invest in real estate. Do you have a certain goal of a certain portfolio that you want to build? And what are you doing to get from the realtor mindset, the hat, and wear the investor hat? Are you more focused on really wearing the hat of just saying, hey, I want to achieve that goal of being the top real estate brand or team? Or are you really focused more on, or doing and allocating toward your real estate investment portfolio?
Yeah. So I'm the type of person where I'm like, hey, you know what? It's okay to try multiple things, but if you find something that's kind of working, just poke everything into that, build it as much as you possibly can, and then once you kind of got that up and running, then kind of look at other avenues of things. So because right now I'm like, hey, I kind of hit it off with this real estate brand and the team and stuff, I'm like, hey, you know what? Let me just put all my energies and efforts into building this.
And that's Real, right? Is that the company you're with?
So my team is the Prasad Group at
Prasad.
Real Broker. Real Broker is our brokerage, right? That's the national brokerage,
Cloud.
over 30,000 agents across Canada and United States.
Wow.
So depending on wherever you're at.
You guys are like competing to EXP.
Correct, yep.
Gotcha.
So very
cloud-based brokerage.
Cloud-based brokerage.
What
right.
does that mean for someone who's listening to our listeners?
Yeah, so it ultimately means that we have one headquarters, right, which is in California, but now we have each individual state has their own individual broker, but it's one brokerage under one umbrella. So that way we have one cap, just one sales cap. So you know how usually when you have a split with your brokerage? So if you were to be licensed in multiple states, you would technically have to be part of multiple brokerages. So with a brokerage like Real, you can technically be under the one umbrella, and I can sell in multiple states and not have to basically have multiple splits, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It gets a little complicated, but it's ultimately, just one umbrella, all agents. We're not competing against each other. We're all under the same brokerage. Like, for instance, a Keller Williams office. A lot of people don't realize this, but one Keller Williams office might be owned by one person, and the other Keller Williams office down the road is owned by another person, and they're direct competitors to each other, right? So this person is the individual franchise owner, this person is the individual franchise owner, and then they also have to pay franchises, fees, and all that stuff. So
gotcha.
Real has kind of eliminated a lot of that stuff, or the virtual brokerage model kind of eliminated a lot of that stuff, and it's more collaboration around the brokerages. So
right. People want to help each other out, and you guys also have other incentives, such as stock options.
Correct. So every time
rev share.
Correct. Every time you sell a property, the company rewards you with stock options. Right. Anytime you recruit an agent that sells properties, they reward you with stock options. When you hit certain sales levels, they reward you with stock options. We have this program called the Elite Agent Program. Whereas after you've hit your sales cap and you're getting 100% commission, if you do a certain amount of transactions after that, I think it's about 20 transactions after that, they will actually give you back the company dollar that you paid Real, which is $12,000. Yeah. They'll give it back to you in stock options, right? So just to give you an idea, the stock has actually been up about 250% year to date. So
how much is the stock right now, roughly?
I think we're probably like 450-ish. So
450, wow.
Yeah, so
and you guys have 30,000 agents?
Yeah, 30,000. Just put it. I'll be honest with you. Just to kind of put it in perspective, I think I must have. Let's put it this way: my shares of Real was able to pay for my car. I got a Porsche Panamera, so you know what I'm saying. And it was the only reason I bought it because all right, wow, I got enough in equity in my company, Real, to afford that. And I was like, you know what, I like cars. It's one of those things that
So you cashed out?
I didn't cash out. No, I financed the car, but just because I had that banked already in equity in stock, Real options, the stocks, I was like, all right, I'll take the risk and I'll go finance the car. So,
gotcha.
but I still have my stock, and I'm glad I did as well too because it went up even more.
Gotcha. Okay. And you guys are you guys growing faster than EXP?
Oh yeah. Right now, yeah. Because remember, we're taking a lot of EXP's market share. A lot of big real estate teams are actually moving their.
Why?
Because the thing is, man, Real, when you have
because they're Real, bro.
Because we're Real. Now, Real, we're very, very focused on collaborative effort. Right. A lot of creatives, a lot of content creators are joining Real because we share a lot of our things. So like we have a lot of masterminds with other realtors that are doing YouTube videos, and we're all sharing ideas and what works and all that stuff in other marketplace. Right. So like there's guys in Canada and California and stuff that are sharing what works for them, and we're just trying to do something similar like that. So so kind of stuff like that is kind of been attracting a lot of those top teams. And one of the things I really like about Real, and I know a lot of people don't like this about EXP because I came from EXP and we used to get a negative report for this, is that recruiting-centric type of business model. So EXP has gotten very well known for just being a recruiting type of brokerage. I know nowadays, anytime, when I was with EXP, anytime you introduce yourself to EXP, it's like, oh, is this guy going to try to recruit me?
They got a bad rap.
They got a bad rap. And the thing is, I understand because there were a lot of agents that were using like very telemarketing sales tactics, right? They were just putting stuff in dialers, right? They were having VAs just cold call people left and right.
Let me build my downline.
Sending text messages left and right. And there was just not a lot of stuff, that was good value to a lot of stuff. So you cannot do any of that stuff with Real. They catch you do any of that stuff, they will kick you out. No.
So they don't want to be known for like a recruiting.
Correct. Yeah,
I like that.
So you'll never see a Real agent really doing like a recruiting pitch. They might maybe position stuff, the benefits and stuff that we offer, right? But you'll never see some sort of recruiting pitches and stuff like that.
It's more authentic.
It's more authentic, yeah. So we'll host events like trainings.
I did notice that about EXP, and I don't know if you know, I was with EXP for like 60 days.
Okay.
And
was it when they transitioned from Exit, the downtown location?
No.
By the way, you were at Exit at downtown Orlando.
Yeah, but that was in 2015, 2016.
Okay. Was it Gil?
Gil Ramos, yeah.
I know Gil.
Yeah, Gil. And this is way before that. He joined EXP the same time I joined EXP.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there for like 60 days, and I saw a lot of that foo-foo bullshit that people were doing and trying to get people in their downlines and trying to do this whole recruiting shit. And I'll be honest with you, bro, I don't like to be around fake people.
Yeah, me
and
neither.
People were trying to act like, oh, I'm gonna be there for you. I'm gonna grow your business, this and that. You get in their downline, they disappear. Bye-bye. See ya. You know? And it was funny because, you know, I've been following along and I noticed there's people doing that, and they fell off, and a lot of people have left them because they saw the fakeness. Yeah. And it's funny because I remember that every time on social media, you'll see a big post like, oh, we just got this big brokerage to join us. Oh, we got this big. Now you don't see that anymore because now all the big wigs, all the big fish have taken all the big brokerages. They're in their downlines. And guess what? There's really no more recruiting to do.
Correct.
It's now a public thing where people know like, hey, we're either going to go to EXP, Real, or LPT if I want to go to a cloud-based brokerage. Which one's best for me?
Correct.
You know, it's not really like, hey, you know, we're going out and recruit, because all the big teams have been recruited already. Yep. So the dynamic has changed a lot. Yeah. You know,
and here's the thing, I guess, what EXP kind of broke the business model and changed the game. So they disrupted the business model where it proved to everyone like, oh, I guess a virtual brokerage model with a recruiting centric and shares enough, so this makes sense. The problem is they got the negative connotation behind it, and they're stuck with it. So sometimes it's not just being first in the marketplace. Sometimes it's just becoming the best value in the marketplace. So, and I think that's where Real has kind of landed. I think we have the best value in the marketplace. We have some of the best splits, the community, the culture.
Are you guys 100% or after you cap?
Yeah. So the Real splits, it's an 85. If you're an individual agent, right? So you're not on the team. If you're an individual agent, right? It's an 85-15 split until you reach $12,000, meaning like after Real gets 12,000.
Correct.
After that,
out of your 15%.
Correct. And then after that, you get 100% off of that. Now,
so that can be literally like 3-4 deals.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's about $3 million in revenue, and
they'll give you that money back after you cap.
And so after you cap, right, and you have to do 20 transactions after you cap, right, or it's like $5,000 in transaction fees, which you pay a small transaction fee per deal after you cap, which is like $250, right? So after you've done that, then they'll give you back that $12,000 in company stock.
Gotcha.
So. Which is pretty awesome.
Cool.
To be honest with you.
Cool. So and then that's good for retention. That's why a lot of companies do that.
Correct.
They want you to. You have to. It has to be seasoned before you can liquidate that. But okay. So
what's happening is that there's a lot of not team, but there's a lot of individual agents already that maybe they sell maybe $7 to $8 million right now with like a Coldwell Banker, Remax, right? And they don't have 100%, right? They're just like on a 85-15 until they're done. They can literally switch their same exact business model because they have all their leads themselves. They can literally just switch their business model over to like a Real, do the same amount of transaction, and then they'll eventually get back that 12,000, you know, and just be at 100%. And on top of that, they get shares of a company.
Correct.
And equity. And
I think it's great business model. I think it's a fantastic business model. I love what you guys are doing. All these cloud-based brokerages, I mean, they're very innovative for what we're in the times we're in. What do you think is going to happen to the Coldwell Bankers and the Keller Williams?
Yeah,
I think the Sotheby's, and
the problem is with them is because their business model in the past, or for as long as it's always been selling franchises. So they've sold so many franchises throughout the years, is that if they were to switch to a virtual business model now, they would be shooting each franchisee owners in the leg. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like,
plus they probably have contracts.
Exactly, right. So I think that's kind of gonna really affect them unless they decide that, you know what, we're just going to buy back all of our franchise owners, right? And then we're just going to switch to a virtual business model.
Gary Keller, I think it's Gary Keller. He's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, he is.
He's a business guy. Yep. And he ain't no small guy. So, and he's pretty innovative. So I'm curious. I mean, again, I'm not really following the whole residential brokerages and, all that, but, I'd be curious to see what his pivot is.
Yeah. Me too. I think that because they have been talks about them maybe going to a virtual type of business model. So,
And that's the thing. Earlier you mentioned something about like, you don't want to get stagnant and stuff like that. And, for you viewers, if you guys are watching this, you always have to innovate. The world's innovating. You have to innovate.
Yep.
You cannot just continue to do what you're doing. It will not work. You can sit here and watch this and say, you know what? I love it. A lot of great takeaways, and all of a sudden start closing a bunch of deals off YouTube. But there's got to be a next thing. And what is the next thing? And how are you innovating toward that next thing?
Yeah.
Because if you're not doing that, then you're going to get stagnant. And then there is no growth in, if you're stagnant, And that's one thing for me. Like even me as a human being, man, one thing we tend to do is get comfortable.
Yep.
We get lazy. When no one's watching, you get lazy.
Yeah.
But you have to be doing the thing when no one's watching. And if that's one thing you can't perfect, which is discipline to get you to do the thing, it's going to really also hinder your business. And that's where a lot of people mess up is like, no one's watching me and I'm a real estate agent and I don't have a boss.
Yeah.
I am my own boss.
Yep.
I've gotten in this industry and you know what? I'm bringing in lazy habits. And a lot of people, when they're real estate agents, they don't realize like, hey man, you taking a 2.5, 3 hour lunch break, you're going to cut it.
Mm-hmm.
You should be on the grind. You should be doing what you're doing every single day. You're making a video on YouTube and consistent for 6 to 12 months for that first year. You did that every day.
Yeah, every day.
And it was action.
Sundays too.
That's what I'm saying. This is action that led to result. And you know what you were doing? You were betting on yourself.
Yep.
You were seeing if this worked. And you didn't give up after month one, month two, month three, month four. You literally did this for a whole entire year. And then you had some type of data, which was commission checks.
Yep.
Those commission checks led to more motivation.
Yep.
Which led to you, how do I replicate this even further?
Yeah.
Which now led you to building a team.
Because I did not want to start a team when I first started out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Goal. I just got into,
now,
I had so many leads. I'm like, all right, I have to get a team.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I meant to ask you a question earlier, and it just came to mind. What do you do when the lead comes through your YouTube channel and they know that they're not working with you? How do you get them across the finish line? Like, you have a team, you hand that lead off to your team, right?
Correct. Yep.
So but they want to work with you.
So and that was one of the things I was worried at first that, they're not gonna want to work with my team. They're gonna want to work with me because they're calling in. But man, that was a limiting belief because I realized, because in my video now, because I've pivoted in my call to action, and now whenever I say, hey, if you're looking to move to Florida, my team and I would love to help you guys. So that's literally what I'm saying. Right. My team and I. So when they call in, the agents just introduce themselves as, hey, this is, this person with the Prasad group. You know what I'm saying? How can we help you? And they understand, this is somebody on Marlon's team. And then they go right in. They go right into it. And I'm surprised that they just trust the thing. And that's why I'm like, okay, I build a brand that people kind of know, like, and trust now. They call in. Every once in a while, someone will be like, no, I would really like to speak to Marlon. And I'll be like, all right, yeah, just schedule a phone call with me. And then I will talk to them at that point.
How involved are you on the transactions?
Very hands off, to be honest with you. I educate my agents, right, on the inventory. They know the inventory, and that's what I'm relying on. So, and I'm looking for agents that know the inventory. They know what's out there.
They're going to walk the communities.
They know the communities, and they're going with me when I'm doing my videos. And if I'm sending them the information, my research and everything, so we have very detailed inside like documents of like neighborhoods where I've done my research, right? Yeah. That they're watching the videos as well too.
Right.
So they know like when someone's asking questions about it, they're actively involved with it as well. And and then I just have them execute. So they're just going on appointments and, figuring out the inventory, matching that to each other. And that's all they got to do. You don't got to create no video, do social media and marketing and
right. You're doing all that.
Yeah. And it's not cold calling. You're not cold calling. You're literally just following over people that literally called in.
So what would you tell people right now? What is the market doing for buyers and sellers? Should people buy? Should people sell?
Honestly, it all depends on your specific situation. So if you absolutely do not need to buy a home right now, I would honestly tell you then wait. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not in a position where like, my job is relocating me, or right where I need to kind of move to a different area or state or whatnot, or I have so much more kids now, I need more space, we outgrew this home. Unless you have a dire need and you're financially stable, I wouldn't recommend it right now because the market is kind of at a standstill. We don't know what's going to happen. We're hoping interest rates are going to start to come down towards the end of the year. Okay. Typically, when interest rates drop, more buyers come into the marketplace, so that'll hopefully increase demand. We're hoping supply kind of stays around the same right now, so maybe prices may go up. Honestly, though, there's a lot of inventory in the market right now, and there's a lot of inventory that a lot of people don't see because it's builder inventory that they have, and they're calling us left and right, and they're throwing incentives at realtors like crazy, as well as the buyers, and they're like, what interest rate do you want? We'll buy it down to get you whatever interest rate you want. So
do you feel that if a buyer was to buy, should they buy a resale home or a new construction home?
It all depends. It all depends on the area specifically. Like, for instance, if you're looking in Claremont area over here, you're probably going to get a best deal on a new construction home because the builders are sitting on so much inventory right now.
You feel that the builders are struggling to push that inventory?
They are, man. Yeah, they got a lot of stuff like basically in permitting and staying there, right? So and they're
just not moving.
They're just not moving. So they're throwing incentives at
and
people.
Are you seeing inventory steadily increase on the market?
Yeah, I'm seeing more and more inventory come. So, however, I will say this: I am seeing a lot of people that listing their homes for sale, a lot of resale homes that are listing for sale, but they're not actual true sellers.
Yeah.
Meaning that they missed the boat, right? When the market kind of went crazy. Yeah. And they're like, damn, let me see if I can get that price now. And now they're listing it at a high value. Yeah. And then it's just sitting on the market and it's just staying there. And then they're not even reducing the price because they're like, nah, I'm only selling it if I can get this price. And they're not getting that price.
You're not a real seller. You're trying to test the market.
Exactly, right? So, and I'm seeing this more in the higher end marketplace as well, too, because we have a few luxury buyers that we're working with. And you could tell, like, in these $5 million, $3 million, they're like, nah, man, they're trying to make $1 million is what it is. Because we look at what they bought it for and whatnot. They're like, they're like, oh, yeah, let me see if I can make $1 million. And, so... which I don't blame them, but as a buyer, you just got to be educated. And this is why I think it's important for you to find a real estate agent that actually understands the local market, understands what's happening, the whole scheme of things, and can actually present to you the data and information and help you navigate that whole entire process. So that's why I think.
And that's what you guys do.
Correct. Yep.
Love it, man.
If you guys love data, you would love us. Our spreadsheets, oh my gosh. We put together spreadsheets of all the properties, comparing everything, all the details and everything. Wow. And before, it used to take us so much time to do it manually, but bro, ChatGPT, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We'll literally just sit there and just pull up all the listings and just talk to ChatGPT. Hey, need to put together a spreadsheet. These are the properties. They need to organize it by this. Just read all the information.
Yep.
15, 20 minutes, we got a whole spreadsheet. We'll send that to a client. The client will be like, oh my God, this is so amazing.
Wow. Yeah. Not even. And it positions you with value and makes you look more presentable and more professional, stuff like that.
Here's the biggest, it's so easily reusable because if another client comes in and they're like, oh yeah, we were looking at X, we're like, oh wow, we already got this.
We got it, boom.
We already, so
title it, right?
Yep. So
keep it saved.
Yeah.
So for an agent, new agent, or someone who's an agent already, actually, let's go this. For a new agent, one of our listeners that are listening to this right now, right? They've made it to the end. They're excited. They're pumped. They've got a lot of good takeaways out of this. What is somebody who's becoming a new licensee? What are 2 good takeaways you would want them to walk away with this from everything you know and all your experience?
Honestly, if you're a new agent first getting into business right now, I would highly recommend don't do it yourself. Don't try to start from scratch, from the get-go, from yourself. That's what I try to do, and it was so hard. It took me a good 2-3 years for me to even get anything going, and in retrospect, I wish I had just joined a team that already has a business plan in place, a system and process. They have they can offer you a lot of stuff. You might not make as much money per deal, but remember, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. Right? So, and the thing is, even if you got 20%, even if it was for free, you had to work on a team for free for 30 days just so you can learn what they're doing, what their systems and processes, how they're handling their conversations and all that stuff, how they're actually structuring their day. Because that's going to be the biggest thing that you're going to run into from day one. Because now you're your own boss, especially if you're coming from like where you had a previous boss.
Right, you had structure.
You got to structure your day. You know what I'm saying? If you're waking up like 10 o'clock in the morning, there's 2 hours of people that have already, realtors have already been making calls and talking to people, and you're already 2 hours late. So figure out your schedule, find a team that already has a system and process, or maybe find another individual agent and shadow that person. So just don't try to do it yourself. Find someone, a team, an individual, something, learn from them, work from them for free if you have to, figure everything out there. And honestly, yeah, that's what I would 100%. If I had to start over, that's what I would do. And
so how soon can someone, if someone took that blueprint that you just mentioned, how soon could they see results, you would say, approximately, to get us?
If you found a good team, honestly, within 6 months, you would have probably maybe 2 or 3 deals. If they have a solid, right? Yeah, if they have a solid amount of leads and brand and a system and process, and you are willing to put in the work, and you're being held accountable.
And you have the work ethic.
And you have the work ethic, you know what I'm saying? So, but I'll say this: if you don't have the work ethic and you can't hold yourself accountable, right? Then honestly, no team and manager or anything is going to make you succeed for the rest of your life. Maybe for short periods, but it's ultimately going to come down to you, and you got to ask yourself and question like, hey, is this actually something that I can do?
Dude, this has been amazing, man.
Yeah.
Dude, you've dropped so much knowledge, and I love that you're really honed in on getting your leads through YouTube. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, man, people sleep on social media, and even the small following I have, going back to what I said earlier, like I'm reaping benefits off of it. It's crazy. Just imagine when you get, 400, 500, 600, 1 million followers.
Yeah.
It's just imagine what your business is going to do then.
Honestly, that's why I've realized I'm like, I can kind of go almost anywhere in Florida, make content, and I might actually attract leads. And that's why I'm like, hey, in the state of Florida, I could probably go to Tampa, I can go to South Florida, I can go to North Florida, I can go to and then I could start doing some of these higher end homes and start to get a little bit more of a wealthier buyer. And usually wealthier buyer are more business people. I might be able to open up a whole lot more opportunity. And that's why I'm like, I'm willing to pivot with my business as it goes. Even if we have to change the name, it's like, I'm okay with that. The only reason I chose to go with the Prasad group right now is because I realize
is that your last name?
It's my last name, right?
Okay, Prasad.
And it's because now when people, they see my name, Marlon Prasad, when they call in the Prasad group, it's easy, it lends to the brand. So they're much more likely to work with my team because they're like, they see the Prasad group. The emails are coming from the Prasad group, right? They're on my website, they see the Prasad group. So they see it's all brand centric.
Right.
They're not questioning, or do you work with Marlon?
Right.
There's no question. It's
uniform. You guys are uniform.
Exactly.
So what is a couple fun facts that I should know about you or people should know about you? Give me something funny. Fun facts. Fun facts.
So you might not know this, but I could speak Asian.
Oh.
Okay, I had an accent. Okay, you want to order the chicken fried rice?
Oh, you're pretty good.
Oh, you too. Okay, you know Uncle Roger.
I know Uncle Roger, and Uncle Roger. He been with me a long time.
Okay,
and, you know,
and Auntie Helen. Okay,
Auntie Helen, and chicken fried rice, and I love it.
Hello, what is up, buddy?
Buddy, you got it. I love it.
What is going on? It is very good to meet you, sir.
My God, you got a really good accent.
It is, what is it in his blood? Okay, I come from India. It is, my people is, they took us from India and took us to Guyana.
Are you working at the 7-Eleven on the corner?
What, you never know? It is, I might own it.
I know it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wagwan, my youth. Big up to my brethren, them.
Yeah.
They call me Marlon. Marlon, me come from Kingston, Jamaica, born and raised.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so
One love.
I'm a goofy dude.
I
like to have fun. I love basketball as well too, and I love cars. Cars, basketball, and
cool.
And women. That's it.
Yeah, and guys, just so you know, do not forget. Not only is he a realtor, he's a sexy realtor, and he is looking for his next girlfriend that potentially might be a wife.
Yes, you got to be Christian though. I'm sorry, I'm very honed in on what I'm looking for in a woman as well too. You got to be Christian from a Christian family. It's just gonna make things easier.
He's looking to have a lot of babies. He's looking for a lot of booty.
I'll even adopt if I have to.
So again, if you're a woman and you're looking for a nice, sexy realtor in Claremont, hit up Marlon. So how do people find you, Marlon?
You can find me on Instagram or of course on YouTube, Marlon Prasad, and TikTok, MJP Realtor.
Wow.
Twitter, well, it's now X. I'm on every single platform. Whatsoever, so you can definitely find me. So, and of course, if anybody is looking to move to Florida, my team and I would love to help you guys. That's what we specialize in. So
love it. And what's the number they should call? 407-305-4165. That's our YouTube tracking number. So if you call that, we'll know you came from YouTube. And if you're a female, don't call that number.
Don't call that number. You're going to get my team. I'm sorry.
You need to be hitting them up on Instagram.
There you go.
And saying, hey, you know what? You're good looking. Let me take you on a date. My goal for this video really is
to give me a date.
My man
Javier, coming through.
My man, brother. I want to get you a date on this video.
Yeah.
That's my main goal. So, dude, it was amazing, man. I've been wanting to do this podcast for a while with you, and it's just been amazing, man. And the knowledge you dropped and the focus you have and where you're going with your team, I can't wait to see you guys continue to expand, brother. Man. This is amazing. And the value I can ever give to you guys, on the investment side of things, just let me know, bro. you're sitting right in front of a creative finance guru, commercial, residential, mainly focused on commercial. But dude, I love what you guys are doing, man. So thank you so much, man. We have, Marlon killing it today on the show. And, from closings to capital, your host, Javier Paredes. Don't forget, guys, subscribe to my YouTube channel, go to my Instagram, show me a little love, because I know you at least had one takeaway on this probably 2-hour long podcast. I'm not even looking at the clock. Honestly, I've gotten so lost in the conversation, in a good way, by the way, in a good way, that it's been such good synergy and energy that we've had. Give me at least a follow or a like on Instagram, and drop a comment, because this is going to live on YouTube. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you want to hear. And let's keep having you tune in to the next episode from Closings to Capital. Your host here, Javier Paredes. Follow me again at The Real Javier Paredes on Instagram, and I'll catch you on the other side. Boom.